Chapter 864. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. No one had any objections. In the last battle, Night Sorrow had displayed his might and prestige. Following that, Night Sorrow led his people to the Netherworld's channel. They slaughtered their way through, killing any nether beasts they saw. Night Sorrow knew that nether beasts were second-tier life forms in the Netherworld. The ones who ruled the Netherworld were the Nether race, and the nether beasts were just battle beasts under their rule. Night Sorrow didn't even have a chance to fight because there were too many saints and paragons. Ordinary battles didn't have anything to do with him. The Supreme River space takes up too much space. We've swept through it, but there are still quite a few nether beasts, said Wu Lingfei, who was by Night Sorrow's side. Don't worry. Once we block the channel from the Netherworld to the Supreme River space, we can spread out the net and slowly clear it out. We don't lack time. Our combat members also need to temper themselves, said Night Sorrow. If that's the case, it shouldn't be a problem. Back then, you said you were already working on repairing the 9 regions world. What's going on? Asked Wu Lingfei to Night Sorrow. I've already refined the Nihility Fate Pearl. This time, I went out to send the Nihility Fate Pearl to the Nihility Fiendish space so that it can fuse with the Nihility Fate Pearl. Once the fusion is complete, I'll be the master of the Nihility Fiendish space. At that time, the 9 regions world's laws will be complete, and the world's laws will be supreme. The mysterious heaven world won't be able to invade as they please, said Night Sorrow. Things really are going smoothly. Right now, we're racing against time to repair the 9 regions world before the slaughter. That'll make things much less troublesome. Wu Lingfei waved her jade-like arm and said. The group moved forward. At night, Yishang would order everyone to set up camp and then he would meditate to stabilize his cultivation. On this day, as soon as they set up camp and were drinking tea, Night Sorrow's body trembled. This was because he had established a connection with the first department. His clone in the Heaven Sealing Grand Hall had been completed. At this time, in a special space within the Heaven Sealing Temple, a man was standing there. This man was Night Sorrow's soul avatar. He waved his arm, and a green robe of energy appeared on his body. 7 VLP, it feels alright. It's just that I have a close connection with the Heaven Sealing Palace and can't leave, the green-robed Night Sorrow muttered to himself. Night Sorrow's soul avatar was catalyzed by the Heaven Sealing Great Hall and was closely related to the Heaven Sealing Great Hall. At this moment, he knew how to guard the 9-domain origin protective barrier. The situation of the great array outside was also reflected in his divine sense C. At this time, the 9-domain origin chi appeared in front of Night Sorrow. You have the ability to activate the 9-domain origin protective barrier and the outer 2 formations. However, during the catalyzing process, your body has become one with the core formation. You can't leave the 9-domain origin protective barrier. I understand. When I have time, I'll have my main body send over a spatial ring. It's a bit inconvenient. Night Sorrow stretched his body and sat down cross-legged to sense his body's condition. As for weapons, the Heaven Sealing Great Hall can give you a king-class spear. You can say that you are invincible within the 9-domain origin protective barrier, said the 9-domain origin chi to Night Sorrow. I will firmly guard this place. Night Sorrow nodded. Work hard on your cultivation. Your situation is different from Clear Sky Sage King's. He is a remnant soul. You have become one with the Heaven Sealing Great Hall's formation, so your lifespan is unlimited. As long as the Heaven Sealing Great Hall is not destroyed, you will be undying. Your cultivation base will increase infinitely with your main body. The 9-domain origin chi then left. Undying and indestructible, the white-robed Night Sorrow muttered from within the camp. What did you say? Asked Wu Lingfei. My soul avatar has reached large success. Because it has become one with the core formation of the Heaven Sealing Great Hall, it is undying, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow then explained his soul avatar's situation. It can have children. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow with surprise. Aunt Fei, your soul avatar can't? Asked Night Sorrow. It can't. The avatar's body is real, but its blood chi is different from the main body's. It can't reach that level. That's an ability that only the main body has. Wu Lingfei shook her head. Yishang nodded. He understood that this was the reason why the Heaven Sealing Grand Hall had refined his blood essence into his soul clone. With a soul avatar that is equivalent to your main body, you'll have a layer of insurance. Wu Lingfei was happy for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow continued to cultivate. He planned to send some things to his soul avatar later, such as robes, wine, and tea. His soul avatar also needed to live. It was no different from the main body. As they advanced, they killed their way through. But that had nothing to do with Night Sorrow. Half a month later, the group was very close to the netherworld passageway. Yi Wuyo, who was scouting ahead, came back and told Yi Shang that the spatial passageway was filled with nether beasts and nether race people. At this time, they needed to come up with a strategy. Within the command tent, the commander's residence and the various saints were all present. We have to be extremely cautious in the battle at the spatial passageway. Does anyone have any thoughts? Asked Night Sorrow from the main seat. We can fight, but you'll have to come up with a strategy, said the heavenly underworld saint. Elder June, what do you think? Asked Night Sorrow. Then I'll tell you what I think. We'll only be able to defend ourselves by occupying the passage in the Supreme River Dimension. If we're going to fight, we'll have to take over both sides quickly, Jun Xuanji said. My thoughts are the same. If we want to occupy both sides of the spatial channel, we'll be able to attack and defend at any time. Right now, gather all the formation grandmasters and grandmasters. I'll stealthily sneak in and set up a grand formation without the other side noticing. After that, we'll all move out and take down both sides of the spatial channel, said Night Sorrow. Sneaking around again, muttered Jun Xuanji. This is called strategy. Isn't it good to start the battle without expending any energy? Asked Night Sorrow with a frown. It's not bad. It's quite ruthless. Jun Xuanji nodded. He knew that Night Sorrow had heaven-defying abilities and could silently break through spatial seals. That would be a decisive factor in the war between worlds. It was something that no one could defend against. Chapter 865. Then someone went to gather the formation masters. A moment later, a dozen or so people gathered outside the command tent. They were all formation masters and Jun Xuanji was standing in front of them. Why are you standing here? We're going to set up a formation so that the netherworld can't come into contact with the spatial tunnel. The battle will take some time. Night Sorrow looked at Jun Xuanji with a frown. Jun Xuanji was beautiful without her veil, and she had the arrogance of a superior. However, Night Sorrow knew that this woman was full of tricks, and it was better to stay away from her. I'm a formation master. Aren't you going to set up a formation? Jun Xuanji said confidently. On the GS section of the Zmost Zainu chapter, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, we still need someone to set up a battle here. There are 2 vice commanders here and many saint seniors. There's nothing for me to do. I'll just help set up the formation, Jun Xuanji said. It's good to go. You're the elites of the 2 regions. If you work together, you'll be able to work together in the future, Xianhuan said. Hearing this, Night Sorrow nodded. He had to give Xianhuan face. Xianhuan had done a lot for the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries realm. Night Sorrow waved his right hand and the spacetime pagoda enlarged. When the spacetime pagoda transformed into its original form, it was already dozens of feet tall. Little Kong told Night Sorrow that as long as Night Sorrow reached the Saint Realm, he would be able to control the spacetime pagoda. At that time, he would be able to reach the clouds and be like a grain of sand in the ocean. Next, the formation masters entered the spacetime pagoda. Jun Xuanji did not hesitate and entered as well. Martial Uncle Grand Uncle Monarch Yun stabilized the situation here. Don't be discovered. If a nether beast approaches the camp, kill it, Night Sorrow said to the Grand Uncle and Yun Tianlong. Then his body flashed as he charged forward. Night Sorrow was extremely fast. Under the slashing of the spatial barrier, he left behind a series of afterimages. With his powerful soul power, he could easily avoid the nether beast Night Sorrow. When he was 50 miles away from the spatial channel, Night Sorrow quietly tore open space and started to travel through the turbulent space flow. With the power of the rules protecting his body, he didn't consume much energy. At the entrance of the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow became cautious. The soul flow passed through the spatial barrier, and Night Sorrow discovered a few nether beast saints. Seizing the opportunity, Night Sorrow unleashed a space crack, breaking through the space tunnel's barrier. His body flashed into the space tunnel's turbulent flow. The moment he entered, he waved his left hand and smoothed out the space crack. At this moment, a few nether beast saints with human bodies and wolf heads appeared. They had all sensed the energy fluctuations and came over to take a look. They didn't sense anything and returned to their original positions. Night Sorrow's soul power also detected 2 special people. They were no different from humans, and the only difference was that they had a horn on their head. Night Sorrow knew that they were from the nether race. After passing through the spatial channel, Night Sorrow investigated and discovered that the netherworld's entrance was even more heavily guarded. There was a large hall near the entrance and there were many pavilions around it. After waiting for a while, Night Sorrow took advantage of a gap in the patrols to use a space crack. He broke through the barrier between the spatial channel and the netherworld's turbulent flow. Without being detected, he entered the netherworld's turbulent flow and continued to travel. After traveling dozens of miles, Night Sorrow broke through the spatial barrier and entered the spacetime pagoda. "What's the situation?" asked Xuanhuan. "We've entered the netherworld, but their defenses are very strong," said Night Sorrow as he took out a tea set and brewed tea. "Then we'll have to be careful when setting up the formation. We can also set up the formation a bit further away from the spatial channel and slowly push our way to the entrance," said Xuanhuan. "Stability is the most important thing. I'll set up the illusion formation in a bit, and then everyone can leave. Does anyone have any suggestions for the formation? The stronger, the better, and the more complicated, the better. Don't let others break it in a few moves," said Night Sorrow. At this moment, everyone turned to look at Ho. He was a formation grandmaster. "Young master, this subordinate has recently studied the ancient formation diagram cosmic formation. I have some insights that can be used to set it up," said Ho. "Then tell everyone how to set up the formation." Night Sorrow nodded to Ho. "It's very complicated and only I can command it. Everyone will set up the formation in different positions. Everyone has a foundation in formations, so it's fine as long as you don't get the formation wrong," said Ho. "All right. Our formation strategy is to first set up the illusion formation, and then set up the formation inside the illusion formation. Safety and secrecy are the most important things," said Night Sorrow. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. Next, Night Sorrow exited the spacetime pagoda and moved closer to the spatial channel. There were still around 20 li left. When he could no longer get any closer, Night Sorrow brought out some spirit stones and set up an illusion formation with a radius of tens of jianghu. Next he sent everyone out. Everyone is now inside an illusion formation. Start setting up the formation. After setting up an area, continue setting up the illusion formation to push forward, ordered Night Sorrow. Next, Ho began arranging for everyone to set up the formation. Night Sorrow was also busy. However, he was setting up an illusion formation to increase the area where everyone could move around. Although the process of setting up the illusion formation was somewhat slow, it was still ongoing. 8 days. After 8 days, they set up a great formation with a radius of over 20 li around the spatial channel. The isolation of the formation is complete. Continue increasing the thickness of the formation, said Night Sorrow to Ho. At any rate, as long as the formation was not activated, the other party would not notice. Next, they continued setting up the formation. Fortunately, the Grand Domain formation was set up in succession. Once it was activated, it would activate all at once. Those who did not understand formations would be trapped and killed if they entered. Half a month later, only the palace and a few buildings remained at the spatial channel's entrance. There were no more formations around them. Most importantly, there was no way to approach them. This mission is complete. After activating the formation, you guys enter the spacetime pagoda. We'll head back and start the battle, said Night Sorrow to Ho. Ho nodded. He immediately activated the Grand Domain formation, which was composed of over 10,000 individual formations. Following the activation of the formation, winds and clouds rose and white mist spread out around the spatial channel's entrance. With the exception of the palace and the buildings, the rest of the space was enveloped in white mist and roiling energy. Don't resist. I'll take you all away, said Night Sorrow to the people beside him. Next, his soul power surged out to take everyone into the spacetime pagoda. Next, he utilized spatial Ren to enter the spatial turbulence and charge towards the spatial channel's entrance. Chapter 866. After Night Sorrow arrived at the spatial tunnel's entrance, he used spatial Ren to break through the spatial barrier and rushed into the spatial tunnel's turbulent flow. As soon as he entered the turbulent flow of space, he was attacked from behind. However, because of the turbulent flow of space, Night Sorrow didn't suffer much damage. After rushing out of the spatial passage, Night Sorrow broke through the spatial barrier of the Supreme River space and entered the spatial turbulence to fly. At this time, the interior and exterior of the spatial passage were in chaos. The Netherworld world already knew that they were under attack. Night Sorrow quickly shuttled through the spatial turbulence and arrived at the campsite of the Nine Regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm after a while. After tearing open space and returning to the real world, Night Sorrow issued a battle order. That was to surround the spatial passageway and slaughter the Nether Realm forces. Then, through the spatial passageway, they would occupy the other party's spatial passageway. Following Night Sorrow's order, the people of the two realms rushed toward the spatial passage under the lead of the saints. At this time, the Nine Regions world had 4 pinnacle saints, a few high-level saints, and even more mid-level and low-level saints. After a while they surrounded the spatial passage and began to kill. With the reincarnation spear in hand, Night Sorrow's attacks were deadly. As long as they were not saints, they would not be able to resist his violent attacks. In less than an hour, the netherworld beasts and people of the netherworld race at the spatial passage were killed by the elites of the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries realm. Now let's kill our way over and occupy the other side. Then we will continue to stabilize the formation. Night Sorrow's body flashed and entered the spatial passage. The saints of the 2 realms who were worried that Night Sorrow would be in danger hurriedly followed. The others also quickly followed behind. On the netherworld world side of the spatial passage, there was an 8-star saint from the netherworld race guarding it. The rest were 3 mid-level saints and some venerables. This 8-star saint from the netherworld race was directly controlled by Long Xuanxing's chaotic space and began to kill him. The other saints took control of the spatial passage like the autumn wind sweeping the fallen leaves. Following that, Night Sorrow brought the array masters out of the spacetime treasure pagoda. Protector Entropy, continue strengthening the array formation. We must make this place impregnable. After giving his instructions, Night Sorrow passed through the teleportation array and flew off into the distance. After flying for 20,000 li, he set up a teleportation array in a secluded mountain range. Then he changed directions and flew for another 100,000 li before setting up another teleportation array. Night Sorrow set up the teleportation array, placed the teleportation crystal, and placed a spare teleportation crystal. In other words, as long as Night Sorrow returned to the spatial passage and set up the teleportation array, he could teleport back and forth. After doing all this, Night Sorrow returned to the spatial passageway. At this moment, the spatial passageway was surrounded by the Netherworld's army. It was an army of venerables and there was a saint-level commander in the middle. Ignoring the enemies charging at him, Night Sorrow cut open space and entered the space turbulence. He passed through the array area and arrived at the entrance of the space tunnel. The people of the 9 domains world were setting up camp at the entrance of the spatial passageway. Array masters were reinforcing the array formations. Night Sorrow, where did you go? Xianxia asked as she looked at Night Sorrow. I went to a secluded place in the enemy camp and set up 2 teleportation arrays, Night Sorrow said. Make sure they're well hidden. Don't be like me. Once the teleportation array was discovered, you dug a hole and waited to jump into it. Xuanhuan recalled how he had been tricked last time. I won't. I also set up an illusion array outside. As long as the illusion array is broken, the teleportation array will naturally be destroyed. Night Sorrow smiled. He had long since left a backup plan. That's good. Xuanhuan nodded. Now that the 9 domains world was closely connected to the profound mysteries realm, she didn't want to lose. The enemy is really strong. If we don't have the initiative and fight them, we won't be able to defeat them, said Long Xianxia. Just now, Night Sorrow had gone to set up the teleportation array. Under Entropy's lead, they had used the array formation to probe the netherworld's strength. As the saying goes, in a battle of wits and courage. Now that we've occupied this place, we have the initiative. We can use any strategy, Night Sorrow said. As Night Sorrow spoke, he began to set up the teleportation array. Once the array was set up, the teleportation crystal lit up. Okay, we can teleport at any time. Should we send someone to scout for information? Xuanhuan looked at Night Sorrow and asked. That's a little dangerous. The enemy is very strong, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. Grandpa can scout for information. If you meet the enemy, just use spatial rend. You can escape from the spatial turbulence, Xuanhuan said. Can't saints directly suppress spatial rend? Last time, the saint from the profound mysteries realm suppressed my spatial rend and closed it, Night Sorrow said. P is the only one, the other C and BW are all pirated. Haha, that's because you didn't use the power of laws to protect yourself. Grandpa has the power of laws. No one can instantly suppress me, said Xuanhuan with a smile. Then I'll go with Saint Skysplitter, said the Flying Tiger Saint. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow nodded. That was because information was very important. Nodding at Night Sorrow, Xuanhuan and the Flying Tiger Saint took the teleportation array and left to scout for information. Xuanhuan and the Flying Tiger Saint left. Wuyo also volunteered to go. In the end, everyone decided to have Wuyo and Xianxia go together to scout for information. Protector Entropy, shouted Night Sorrow after sending the 2 teams of scouts away. Junior Master, subordinate has arrived. Entropy ran out of the teleportation array. Set up a spatial ceiling formation near the spatial channel. If we can do it, others might be able to do it as well. That's why we can't allow the space around the spatial channel to be torn apart, said Night Sorrow. I'll have to think about it. I can strengthen the spatial channel, but directly sealing it is difficult. That's not my area of expertise. I'll need some time, said Entropy. Alright, we have to hurry. Night Moon Sovereign, meditate everywhere and pay attention to the spatial fluctuations, ordered Night Sorrow. There's no need to go through so much trouble. I know how to set up a spatial sealing formation, said xuanhuan. Then what are we waiting for? Set it up on both sides of the spatial channel, said Night Sorrow to xuanhuan. Following this, xuanhuan went to set up the spatial sealing formation. The grand uncles arranged for people to set up camp. There were people standing guard on both sides of the spatial channel. Night Sorrow brewed a pot of tea in the command tent. As he drank, he thought about whether there were any holes in his strategy. Night Sorrow, there really is a large gap between our strength and theirs. Let alone the others, just the Netherworld warriors outside the teleportation array are not to be underestimated, said Heavenly Underworld Saint to Night Sorrow. Don't worry. There's no such thing as a dead end. If we're not strong enough, we'll just wait. In any case, the initiative is in our hands, said Night Sorrow. The others nodded. They all knew that this was the right strategy. They had seized the initiative in the first battle. Otherwise, if they had fought in the Supreme River space, it would have been a battle to the death. That was something no one wanted to face. Soon, Entropy came to report that the Netherworld Realms people were still gathering, but none of the formation masters were able to break the formation. Several formation masters had tried to break the formation, but before Entropy and the others could do anything, they were killed by the formation. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that right now they could only see if the Grand Cycle formation could hold back the Netherworld Realms people. If it could, then they could stabilize the situation. If it couldn't, then they would have to think of other strategies. Chapter 867. Soon, the spatial channel was occupied by the 9 domain worlds camp. The situation stabilized. After observing for 7 or 8 days, Night Sorrow found that although the Netherworld world's cultivators were very strong, their understanding of formations was lacking. They simply couldn't break formations. After discovering this, Night Sorrow once again gathered the people from the commander's residence. Commander, do you have any new orders? Asked Yin Tianlong. Yes. The Netherworld world's formation research is lacking, so they can't break formations. In other words, our defensive formation is stable, so we need to stabilize the rear. Everyone go out and clear out the Supreme River region. In the future, there can't be any nether beasts in the Supreme River region. They can't threaten the 9-domain world, said Night Sorrow. Hearing Yi Shang's words, everyone bowed and accepted their orders. Split up the teams. Each team must be led by a high-level saint. In other words, each high-level saint will lead a team. Cultivators and formation masters who have room to grow stronger will stay behind. The formation here is stable and we need people to support and maintain it, added Night Sorrow. Following this, the 2 vice-commanders went to arrange the teams, and the elders of the commander's residence also began to move. The majority of the people moved. Xuexi stayed behind to accompany Night Sorrow, while the god-slaying squad followed Long Shenxing to fight. Night Sorrow tossed a messaging crystal to xuanhuan. If there's a big problem, crush it. If there's a small problem, deal with it yourself. What about you? Asked xuanhuan as he took Night Sorrow's messaging crystal. If I have to do everything, then why would I need an elder like you? Glancing at xuanhuan, Long Xuanji entered the spacetime pagoda. Xuanhuan was startled by Night Sorrow's words. He let out a breath and calmed himself before continuing to set up the spatial sealing formation. After entering the spacetime pagoda, Night Sorrow and Xuexi flirted for a while before having Little Sky transfer all of Xuexi's daily necessities to the 70th level. Xuexi was a 6-star saint, so she could afford to stay on the 70th level. Night Sorrow also planned on staying on the 70th level in the future. Because of the time acceleration, his cultivation base could quickly increase. First release, then Night Sorrow began to meditate and cultivate. Recently, the 6th bloodline talent had shown signs of loosening, so Night Sorrow continued to strive for it. Night Sorrow's main cultivation direction was to increase his true chi cultivation and the myriad Tao Tong cultivation, because he wanted to break through to the 7th stage. Although he was young, Night Sorrow was someone who could calm down. Once he started cultivating, he would forget about the time. In any case, this was a peaceful period and there was no danger in the war. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Night Sorrow's Jinqi cultivation was not far from the late stage of the 9th level Venerable Realm. His myriad Dao treasured cannon had also reached the late stage of the 8th level of the Spirit Refinement Realm. If others wanted to increase their cultivation, they would need several years or even longer. This was because the amount of energy required was incomparably large. However, Night Sorrow had the space-time pagoda fully instilling energy into him. All he needed to do was refine it. In addition, Night Sorrow's divine sea, which was originally empty apart from the divine bead, was now filled with a purple fog. This was his newly cultivated soul force, and the crescent blade of soul extinguishing slash was becoming more and more solid. At this time, only a month and a half had passed in the outside world. After cultivating with Xuexi for a while and stabilizing his cultivation, Night Sorrow left the space-time pagoda. He wanted to see what was going on. Seeing Night Sorrow come out, Xuanhuan, who was patrolling outside the formation, was stunned. "What's the situation recently?" Night Sorrow asked Xuanhuan. "A lot of people have gathered in the Nether Realm. If it weren't for the formation, they would have eaten us alive," Xuanhuan reported to Night Sorrow. "As long as the formation is effective, it's fine," Night Sorrow said. After that, Night Sorrow asked the two groups of people who were scouting for information, but there was no news. The people who had gone to the Supreme River Space to fight had not returned either. Everything was still going on. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow went through the spatial channel and began setting up a formation near the channel's entrance. Xuanhuan also followed. "Why aren't you setting up the formation over there? Why are you here?" Xuanhuan asked when he saw Night Sorrow setting up the formation. "I'm setting up a defensive line. Even if the formation over there isn't stable, there's a second line of defense. It's better to be prepared," Night Sorrow said. Xuanhuan understood after thinking about it. Night Sorrow did this to add a layer of insurance. In order to ensure that the formation was strong, Night Sorrow had used top-grade spirit stones at the key locations. Night Sorrow had even used top-grade spirit stones. Even Xuanhuan, who understood formations, could not understand what Night Sorrow was doing. What was the 1000 amplification formation? It was the clear sky sage king's blood, sweat, and tears. No matter how profound one's attainments in formations were, it was difficult to understand without a formation diagram. Night Sorrow, who was tired, rested for a while before continuing his research. After 4 days, a small 1000 amplification killing formation was formed. "You're using too many spirit stones," said Xuanhuan, who was watching Night Sorrow set up the formation. "I still have to use them. However, I still gained a lot." "It was worth it," said Night Sorrow. In truth, Xuanhuan did not know that Night Sorrow had gained a new understanding of formations while he was setting up the formation. He had also reached the level of a formation grandmaster. Now that the formation was complete, Night Sorrow felt a bit more at ease. He then returned to the camp inside the spatial channel to make tea. After drinking tea, Night Sorrow tested the strength of the spatial passageway's spatial confinement array formation. Night Sorrow could still cut open space, but it was very strenuous. Could be said to be extremely strenuous. Not bad. Night Sorrow felt that it was very strenuous for him, and it would be even more difficult for others to break open. There was no problem in terms of safety. "You have to give me the spirit stones." "I used a lot of them," said Xuanhuan as he looked at Night Sorrow. "Wait for the Grand Elder to return. Ask her for them. I don't care about resources." Night Sorrow directly ignored Xuanhuan. After telling Xuanhuan to call him if there was anything, Night Sorrow returned to the space-time pagoda to continue cultivating. This time, other than checking out the situation, he also wanted to get some fresh air. "It's safe outside. Aren't you afraid that someone will dig out the spirit stones you used to set up the formation?" asked Xuexi as she looked at Night Sorrow. She saw that Night Sorrow had set up the formation but had not activated it. "You're overthinking it. I've placed the spirit stones very deep into the ground. They won't move easily. If someone touches the formation's foundation, they'll activate the formation and be attacked," said Night Sorrow. After that, Yishan began to cultivate again. He planned to cultivate his true chi to the peak of the 9th level as soon as possible, then settle down. As for the myriad Dash treasured tome, he still had a long way to go before reaching the 7th level of the Golden Body Realm, so he was in no hurry. Half a month had passed in the outside world, while Yishang had been cultivating in the space-time pagoda for another month. Yishang's cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th level Venerable Realm, which meant that he had reached the critical point of breaking through to the Saint Realm. Night Sorrow stretched his waist. He knew that he would have to slowly settle down. Once he stabilized, he would be able to break through to the Saint Realm. When Night Sorrow came out of the space-time pagoda, Xuanhuan and the Flying Tiger Saint returned. The two of them brought back some news that made Night Sorrow feel very depressed. Xuanhuan and the Flying Tiger Saint had disguised themselves and captured people to interrogate them. They knew some of the Nether Realm's strength. Chapter 868. We can't fight them head-on. We can't beat them. Night Sorrow felt a headache coming on after hearing the news from Xuanhuan. The difference is huge. The main reason is that the Netherworld race and Netherworld beasts have much longer lifespans than us. That's why they have so many peak saints. Xuanhuan explained the reason why the other side had so many peak saints. Fortunately, we've stabilized the situation. If they really broke in, we wouldn't be able to hold on, Night Sorrow said. Also, we know that they didn't attack us previously because they were waiting for their first king, the Nine King, to come out of seclusion. Last time they sent 2 high-level saints but couldn't defeat us. So they decided to wait for the 7 underworld kings to gather. If they didn't wait, then the 9 regions world would be in big trouble, Flying Tiger Saint said. This is fate. The god of fate is on our side. Now that we have the advantage, they can't break in even with their strength. That's not good, Night Sorrow said. Right now, we can only stabilize the situation and wait for an opportunity, Xuanhuan said. Night Sorrow nodded. The other side had 7 peak saints. This wasn't something that the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries realm could fight against. Not long after Xuanhuan and Flying Tiger Saint returned, the people who were fighting in the Supreme River Dimension also returned. The Supreme River Dimension had been cleaned up. Although the Supreme River Dimension was huge, it couldn't withstand such a cleanup. After knowing the strength of the Netherworld realm, Long Xianxia and the others felt helpless. There was no way to fight when there was a huge difference in strength. The 9 regions world's army was at an absolute disadvantage when it came to peak saints. 3 days later, Yi Wuyo and Xianjun returned. The 2 of them had investigated in detail. Xianjun was a woman, so her thoughts were more meticulous. They brought back a detailed map with the distribution of the major forces in the Nether Realm. Night Sorrow, do you have any ideas? If not, we'll just defend. With the formation we can still hold on, Sky Underworld Saint said. Let me think. Looking at the map, Night Sorrow tried to think of a solution to the crisis. After pondering for a while, Night Sorrow nodded at Yi Wuyo with the map in his hand. Father, since you've gone out to investigate the other party's strength, you'll naturally know the names of the 7 underworld kings and the forces they belong to. Help me mark them down. After that, Yi Wuyo circled the forces that the 7 underworld kings belonged to on the map. After taking 2 deep breaths, Night Sorrow made his decision. Kill? How are we supposed to kill a peak saint? There are 4 of us and 7 of them. Let's just send them to be killed, said Sky Underworld Saint to Night Sorrow. Don't talk so much, just listen. Long Xianxia glared at Heavenly Underworld Saint. Gather our strongest forces and kill their strongest individual soldier. Night Sorrow spoke his mind. Seeing that everyone was confused, Night Sorrow explained. Night Sorrow's idea was for the 4 peak saints on their side to go out and attack the 7 underworld kings. They would capture one of them and kill them one by one. That's a ruthless idea. It's not bad. It'll be easy for us 4 peak saints to capture one of their peak saints. Sky Underworld Saint's eyes lit up. The other people who were originally in low spirits also became spirited. Alright, we'll set off tomorrow. The earlier the better, said Night Sorrow. We'll be the ones setting off. This matter has nothing to do with you, said Long Xianxia to Night Sorrow. I'm worried, said Night Sorrow. You don't have to worry about the 4 of us going to kill one of them, said xuanhuan. I'll go with you. If there's a special situation, I can tear open space and bring everyone away, said Night Sorrow. There's no need for you. Grandpa will go with us. This way, even if there's a problem, it won't be a problem to retreat, said Xuanhuan. He wouldn't let Night Sorrow take the risk. Seeing that everyone was so determined, Night Sorrow could only nod. He then looked at Grand Elder. Spiritual fluid of origin, spiritual fluid of life, and other necessary resources have been prepared. Yes. Grand Elder cupped her hands. She knew that Night Sorrow valued people the most. He didn't want anyone on his side to die. Night Sorrow, just wait for our good news. You've come up with such a good idea. If we can't solve the problem, it'll be our fault, said Long Xianxia. Remember, complete the encirclement and kill everyone who knows about the battle. Seal off the news. Only then can we carry out the next attack safely, said Night Sorrow. Then Long Xianxia and the other 3 peak saints, as well as Xuanhuan, took the transmission array and left to carry out Night Sorrow's plan. Yishang, you don't have to worry. As long as the 7 underworld kings don't gather, they won't be able to threaten the safety of our team. You know how strong Senior Long Xianxia is. The announcing saint also has a high-grade holy treasure, Xianhuan said to Yishang. Knight Sorrow nodded. Then he looked at Grand Elder and Lu Qin. Grand Elder and Martial Ant, the array master used some spiritual stones some time ago. Also replenish her spiritual stones. After everything was arranged, Knight Sorrow brought his parents, Xuexi and 3 fiancés to his tent. Then he made tea. Father, Mother, it's been hard on you. It's okay. I feel a sense of accomplishment fighting under my son's command. I don't feel tired at all. I'm in high spirits, said Yuqing with a smile. With the cleanup, the Supreme River space won't be a hidden danger anymore. You can be more assured as the commander of the commander's residence, said Sikong Chuyu to Knight Sorrow. Looking at the U9 on the D chapter, if I'm being assured, I can only be assured when Senior Long Xianxing and the other seniors come back safely, said Knight Sorrow as he poured tea for everyone. Don't worry, there won't be any problems. Son, you're not far from entering the Saint Realm, right? Yuio looked at Knight Sorrow and asked. My cultivation is still stabilizing. It's about time for me to break through, said Knight Sorrow. That's amazing. When Mother first saw you, you were only a mid-level venerable. Now you're charging toward the Saint Realm. Yuqing looked at her son with pride. After staying for a while, Knight Sorrow sent everyone to the 60th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda to cultivate. He himself went to the 70th floor. Yi Wuyo was a saint, so he could go to the 70th floor. However, Knight Sorrow felt that it was more appropriate for his parents to be together. As for the energy that everyone needed to cultivate, Knight Sorrow could bear it. He just needed to give Shao Kong more spirit stones. Knight Sorrow stabilized his true chi every day, increasing his soul power and the cultivation of the myriad Daos treasured tome. After cultivating for a month, Knight Sorrow's cultivation of the myriad Daos treasured tome broke through to the 9th level of the spirit refinement realm. If he broke through again, he would reach the 7th level of the golden body realm. By then he would be able to fight against saints. In truth, it was very difficult to break through from the spirit refinement realm to the golden body realm from the spirit refinement realm. One needed to control the laws and have the power of laws fill the body. However, Knight Sorrow had already completed this step while cultivating his true chi and soul power. Knight Sorrow would also go to the 60th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda to see how his parents and fiancé were cultivating. He would also go to the campsite to check on them. To the 9 regions world, guarding the spatial passageway was the most important thing. If it was lost, it would be a serious problem. Chapter 869. Knight Sorrow spent most of his time cultivating. He had a strong sense of danger. Only when he was strong would he feel at ease. He searched for Orchid Book Handle and read new chapters. Other than cultivating, Knight Sorrow would often visit the camp of the God-slaying squad. Every time she saw Knight Sorrow, she would cuddle with Knight Sorrow for a while. Knight Sorrow had told her many times that it was inappropriate for a lady to hug him every time she saw him. However, she did not mind at all. Every time Tianyu saw Yishang, he would ask for wine. His cultivation had also increased in a straight line. He was the person with the highest cultivation in the God-slaying squad, reaching the 5th level venerable realm. Even the venerables of the God-slaying squad who cultivated by eating dragon spirit pills couldn't compare to him. Knight Sorrow also asked Xiejun to arrange for people to set up the teleportation array. From the spatial tunnel to the Medicine Valley region, they must be able to communicate quickly. Now that there were no main forces in the 9 regions world, they must be able to contact them immediately if something happened. Knight Sorrow, Jun Xuanji and Ren Tianji also communicated more. However, Ren Tianji spent most of his time cultivating. Sometimes, Knight Sorrow would also go and check on the movements of the netherworld. Currently, the netherworld did not know how to break the array at the spatial tunnel. This was because the foggy area was filled with fierce beasts that devoured life. The commander of the netherworld army did not appear after sending people into the array. This made him very nervous. He did not continue to send array masters and only surrounded the area. Knight Sorrow wanted to bring people out to kill, but because he did not want to alert the enemy, he could only endure it. In the blink of an eye, Long Xianxing and the rest had left for almost 2 months. Knight Sorrow was a little anxious. After all, it had been a long time. Yishang, you don't need to worry. Long Xianxing himself has the strength to kill opponents of the same level. The saint declared also has a saint tool. There won't be a problem. If there is a problem, the news will be sent back. Wu Lingfei came to Yishang's side. The netherworld is a world with a long history. It is indeed powerful and not easy to deal with, Knight Sorrow said. Wu Lingfei nodded. She also understood how strong the netherworld race was. They were all dark elemental cultivators. Not to mention how strong the nether beasts were, they were just battle beasts under the command of the netherworld race. We have also discovered many nether beasts with the death attribute. If there is a death attribute among the 7 nether kings, it will be difficult to deal with them. Night Sorrow voiced his concern. There are still some advanced attributes at Tier 4 and Tier 5. Although there aren't many who have entered the Venerable Realm, there are still some. However, it's difficult to control advanced attributes. It's as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Wu Lingfei said. She had felt it before. She had advanced from the water element to the life element, but the life element was very difficult to grasp. It was Night Sorrow who had taken the life saint crystal and pushed her forward, allowing her to enter the saint realm through the life element. If the other side doesn't have any advanced attribute saints, then it'll be fine. Us 4 peak saints will be able to defeat them one by one. Hearing that, Night Sorrow felt a bit more at ease. The 2 of them patrolled around the array formation. When they returned to the command tent in the campsite, the teleportation array formation flashed and a figure appeared on it. Night Sorrow quickly walked over. Because this transportation formation was only connected to the Netherworld's 2 transportation formations, only Long Xuanxing's group of 5 could be teleported back here. Long Xianxing and Xuanhuan didn't seem to be injured, but Sky Underworld Saint and Shang Luo seemed a bit dispirited. As for Yi Linghuan, he was still normal. You're all back? Seniors, are you alright? Night Sorrow asked worriedly. It was our negligence this time. We didn't complete our mission properly, said Long Xianxing. Don't worry. Even if we didn't kill them, it's fine. We just have to defend this place. Night Sorrow was already very happy that they had returned safely. After that, Long Xianxing explained the situation to Long Xianxing. It wasn't that they didn't manage to kill anything this time, it was just that they didn't manage to get to the end. They managed to kill 3 Hell Kings, but when they were about to kill the 4th one, that Hell King was very strong. He broke through the blockade and escaped. Following that, when the 5 of them went to kill the other Hell Kings, they were surrounded by 4 other Hell Kings. Because of the continuous fighting, Shang Luo and Sky Underworld Saint had been injured, and so they had been suppressed by the other side. It was Yi Linghuan who had repeatedly used spatial cracks to block the other side's attacks. At the same time, he had also brought the 4 of them into a spatial crack and left the battlefield. This result is very good. Killing 3 of the other side's Nether Kings has equalized our strength. Night Sorrow was very happy to hear Long Xuanxing's words. This was a great result. If that fellow hadn't escaped, we would have been able to kill them one by one until the end. We didn't understand that fellow. He had entered the Saint Realm with a high-level attribute, so he suppressed us. Long Xianxing explained the reason why that Nether King had escaped. It's fine. Now that Senior Long Xianxing and Senior Xian Saint are uninjured, can you continue fighting? Asked Night Sorrow. Yes, the 2 of us can continue fighting. Long Xianxing nodded. He knew that if there wasn't a need, Night Sorrow wouldn't have asked this. Xuanhuan also nodded, indicating that they could continue fighting. Martial Uncle Granduncle, gather all the saints and invincible venerables. Before the King of Hell arrives, we'll gather all our peak combat power and launch a wave of attacks at their army. We'll kill a wave of their saint commanders and peak venerables to equalize the strength of our 2 worlds. Yi Shang announced his decision. All right. Tai Shu Yen went to inform the others. Long Xianxing and Xuanhuan also began to recover. After leaving the battlefield, they had been hurrying on their way. Night Sorrow also brought his parents and Shueshi out of the spacetime pagoda. 2 hours later, Long Xianxing and Xuanhuan, who had recovered after consuming the Origin Spirit Liquid and Life Spirit Liquid, nodded to Night Sorrow. I can also continue fighting. Sky Underworld Saint nodded to Night Sorrow. Shang Luo also indicated that he could continue fighting. That's fine too. Seniors, don't focus on the other side's saints. Just grab the other side's peak paragons and high-level paragons and kill them. Our goal this time is to weaken their strength. Night Sorrow said. Then let's end it quickly. Their 4 Nether Kings will definitely arrive later. Long Xianxing said. Then I'll talk about the battle strategy. Our pinnacle saints will grab their high-level saints and kill them. Our high-level saints will suppress their mid-level saints and kill their commanders. We have to suppress them and deal the most damage. We'll fight the way we can deal the most damage. Night Sorrow explained his battle strategy. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the others nodded. Those who have expended a lot of energy or are injured, retreat directly into the formation. If the enemy King of Hell arrives, our people will retreat directly into the formation. Inform all the formation masters to wait for orders in the formation and bring back our people who have retreated into the formation safely. If the enemy pursues into the formation, they will be killed or trapped by the formation. Night Sorrow said again, then led everyone into the formation and approached the army of the nether world. Search for a basket of erotic books to read the rest of the chapters. Chapter 870. The elites of the Nine Regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm approached the Netherworld army through the formation under the lead of the formation master. Search for Orchid Book Handle. When they reached the edge of the formation, Night Sorrow directly gave the order to start the battle. Following which, everyone rushed out and started to attack the Netherworld army. Long Xianxia and xuanhuan rushed to the front and directly restrained the two high-level saints, suppressing them and attacking them. As for high-level saints, Xianhuan was the only one in the Nine Regions world. However, the Profound Mysteries realm had two more. A total of 3 high-level saints attacked the mid-level saints of the Netherworld army. The others didn't have a clear target. They just killed whoever they met. Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and rushed into the enemy army. When he used his 7-star brilliant moon spear, there was almost no one who could withstand it. Yu Qing was worried about her son and followed behind. Wu Lingfei also followed Night Sorrow not far away. The battle was very intense. This was an all-out attack for the Nine Regions world. It was very difficult for the Netherworld army, which was only a part of the Netherworld army, to withstand it. After a while, corpses were everywhere. One had to know that Long Xianxia and xuanhuan were both Netherworld King-level powerhouses in the Netherworld realm. Sky Underworld Saint and Xiangluo were injured and couldn't fight against high-level saints. However, killing peak venerables was as easy as chopping vegetables. Night Sorrow didn't know how many times he killed the enemy army. After killing them once, he continued to kill. As long as they weren't from his camp, they were all killed by him. If an ordinary army couldn't withstand the slaughter, the army would scatter. Those who should run would run, and those who should escape would run. However, none of the Netherworld army's Netherworld beasts or people from the Netherworld army ran. They were all fighting to the death. Even if they died, they didn't retreat. They were very valiant. Even if their arms and half of their bodies were cut off, they still fought. Those who have expended a lot of energy or are injured retreat to the formation. Yi Shang shouted and continued to slaughter the Underworld army. Upon hearing Night Sorrow's order, some of the injured and exhausted cultivators from the Nine Regions and the Profound Mysteries realm retreated into the formation. Once they returned to the Great Formation, the Formation Masters would receive them to a safe place. However, once the Nether Realm's Nether Race and Nether Beasts entered the space of the Great Formation, they would be trapped by the Killing Formation and Illusion Formation. At this time, Long Xianxia and xuanhuan had also killed their opponents. They began to kill the higher-level Nether Beasts and Nether Race members. Commander, give the order to retreat. The enemy's experts are here. After fighting for another half an hour, xuanhuan called out to Night Sorrow. He had sensed the arrival of the Nether King. Retreat. Don't get caught up in the fight. Retreat, shouted Night Sorrow. He charged toward the God-slaying squad. The God-slaying squad's cultivation bases were low, and they had been fighting in formation. Now that they wanted to retreat, they wouldn't be able to do so quickly. Everyone was retreating. Long Xianxia, xuanhuan, Heavenly Underworld Sage, and Xiangluo went all out to block the counterattacks of the Netherworld army and give the others time to retreat. Night Sorrow used his reincarnation spear to kill the Nether Realm warriors he encountered. If he encountered any God-slaying squad members, he would send them flying into the Great Formation. Retreat. Long Xianxia shouted at Night Sorrow once more. At this time, Night Sorrow sent the last member of the God-slaying squad, Ma Zhuang, flying into the Great Formation. Then he charged toward the Great Formation in a flash. Just at this time, a suppressive law fell on Night Sorrow. Break. Night Sorrow roared. Purple energy ripples spread out in all directions, breaking through the bindings. Just as Night Sorrow broke through the bindings, a beam of energy slammed into Night Sorrow, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying. Night Sorrow's body drew an arc as he charged toward the Great Formation. At this time, a large hand of energy slammed toward Night Sorrow once more. It was a woman wearing golden battle robes and a golden helmet. Her golden helmet had 2 curved horns with a special aura. She was the Netherworld realm's #1 Nether King, the 9E Nether King. That attack just now had come from her. Another hand of energy came out of the Great Formation, canceling out the 9E Nether King's attack, allowing Night Sorrow to smoothly fall into the Great Formation. Once Night Sorrow landed, someone supported Night Sorrow. It was Wu Lingfei. While supporting Night Sorrow, Wu Lingfei sent her life energy into Night Sorrow's body, helping Night Sorrow stabilize his injuries. After stabilizing himself, Night Sorrow spat out another mouthful of black blood. There were even flames burning within the blood. Array Master, Keep an eye on the Great Formation's stability. The rest of you, clean up the Netherworld warriors that entered the Great Formation. And Faye help me back. Night Sorrow said softly. The energy in his body was tumbling. A black energy was tumbling within his body. He was using the void true chi and the power of desolates to suppress it. After returning to the command tent, Night Sorrow immediately sat down cross-legged to heal his injuries. As he meditated, the top of Night Sorrow's head was filled with black flames with streaks of red. Those flames were forced out of his body. Be looking at you a moment later, Night Sorrow's upper robes were burned away. His hair was filled with flowing purple flames, resisting the black and red flames that were forced out of his body. That's the 9E Nether King. It's an explosive flame with a death attribute and an ultimate flame attribute. Right now, those two energies are destroying Night Sorrow's body, said Long Xianxia. It's my fault. Captain only received that attack because he saved me. Ma Yizhuang slapped himself. That's enough. Your martial uncle saved you. Did he want to see you like this? Yang Lei glared at Ma Yizhuang. Ma Yizhuang, your martial uncle is fine, said Aoi. Ma Yizhuang nodded and stood to the side. At this time Xuanhuan also arrived. Everyone knew that Night Sorrow had been heavily injured. What's the situation outside? Xianhuan asked Xuanhuan. They've been wildly attacking the Great Formation for a while. Our array masters have reinforced it. There's no problem. We can hold on. How about him? Xuanhuan asked Night Sorrow. I don't know. Xiangluo shook his head. At this time Night Sorrow raised his head and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Within the blood was a black and red flame. Clasping his hands together, Night Sorrow stabilized the energy in his body. Then he opened his eyes. Night Sorrow, how are you? Asked Xianxia as he crouched down and looked at Night Sorrow. That fellow's attack was too fierce. My body managed to withstand the danger of being destroyed, but I still received some internal injuries. I'll have to refine her energy bit by bit. I won't be able to increase my cultivation base during this time. Get me a cup of water first, said Night Sorrow as he nodded to Xianxia. Then he put on his robes. It's good that you're fine. If something happened to you, no matter how many enemies we killed, it would be a loss, said Heavenly Underworld Sage as he looked at Night Sorrow. Senior Heavenly Underworld Sage is too serious. As long as we can reduce the enemy's strength, my personal losses are nothing, said Night Sorrow as he took a big gulp of tea from Yang Lei. What are you talking about? You're the commander of 2 commanderies. If something happened to you, it would be the same as us being beheaded by the enemy, said Long Xianxia. Also, please give me some devil fruits. These devil fruits are linked to my royalties and salary. If I don't have enough, the situation will be very serious. For every dollar he tipped or spent on the excavator, there would be a devil fruit that the excavator would not have. I hope everyone can support Shizi. I'll be a guest during the day, and the afternoon update will be posted on my phone. If there's an update, I'll add it at night. It's still the same old rule. If you give me 200 yuan or 2,000 excavators, I'll add an update. You can read the rest of the chapters. Chapter 871. I'm fine. Elder June, please take care of the formation. Make sure the formation is stable. Nothing must happen to it. Search for Orchid Book Handle and read new chapters, Night Sorrow said to Xuanhuan. Commander, don't worry. Just focus on healing. I'll take care of the defensive formation, Xuanhuan said as he looked at Night Sorrow's pale face. Okay. Also, pass down my orders. No one is allowed to fight for now. We need stability, Night Sorrow said as he looked at the group of people in the tent. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone in the tent cupped their fists, including the saints. Night Sorrow nodded to everyone. Then I'll go heal. The other side's berserk energy can't keep destroying my body. Following this, Night Sorrow returned to the tent and entered the 70th level of the Spacetime Pagoda with Xueshi. Night Sorrow, how can I help you now? Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow with some heartache. I'll first refine and expel the destructive energy from my body, Night Sorrow said as he took out a spirit jade stone stool and took off his clothes to heal. Even if he didn't take off his clothes, they would still be burned by the berserk fire energy. As Night Sorrow suppressed and refined the energy, black flames continuously appeared on Night Sorrow's body. That was the death energy and fire energy that he had forced out of his body. The higher-ups of the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries world were all present in the command tent. Dark Monarch 9 Yin's palm strike landed on the commander. If it landed on anyone else apart from Peak Saints, they would have died on the spot, Xiangluo said. That's right. When I was carrying out the commander plan in the Nether Realm, I was hit by her energy a few times. Even with the protection of the rules and the protective energy shield, I was still injured. Anyone below the mid-level saint level will definitely die. Sky Underworld Saint nodded. Dark Monarch 9 took the 3 Underworld Kings to inspect the battlefield, and his expression became more and more unsightly. What vicious methods! She killed 3 of our Underworld Kings and destroyed a third of our Netherrealm army. 9th King, we can't break their formation now. We can only passively take a beating. A man wearing black armor and a helmet with a pair of curved horns said. He was the Netherrealm's 7 Fiends Hell King. 7 Evils King, continue to mobilize our Underworld army and surround this place. This king will think of a way, 9 Dark King said to 7 Evils King. This king will go now. The 7 Fiends Hades King bowed and left the spatial passageway. 5 Puppet King, go and gather your subordinates as well. The 9th King once again said to a green-robed man with a pair of curved horns on his head. 6 Soul King, you should recuperate first, 9 King said to a man with a pale complexion after giving out instructions. Lupa understands, said the middle-aged man called Lupa by the king of 9. The Netherworld realm originally had 9 Netherworld Kings, but due to the passage of time, 2 of the kings had died due to problems with their lifespans. The remaining 7 kings, the higher the number, the stronger they were. 9 Dark King was the number 1 king in the Netherworld realm. No matter if it was strength or prestige, she deserved to be number 1. The 7 Netherworld Kings of the Netherworld realm respected her and listened to her orders. 6 Soul King was the one who escaped from the encirclement of Long Shenxing and the others. Other than 9 Dark King, he was the only one who could control the death attribute. After arranging the tasks of the 3 Netherworld Kings, the 9th King reorganized the army. At the same time, he sent people back to the Netherworld realm to gather array masters and arrange for people to look for array books. Night Sorrow was on the 70th floor of the Time-Space Treasure Pagoda. He used the energy of the Myriad Tao Tome to suppress it and used the Void Genuine Chi to refine it. He refined the energy that 9 Dark King had injected into his body and expelled it out of his body. Seeing the black smoke and flames constantly emitting from Night Sorrow's body, Xuexi was very shocked. She understood that this was because Night Sorrow had cultivated his body to a higher realm. If it was someone else, this would have been fatal. Night Sorrow spent an entire month recuperating. It took Night Sorrow an entire month to refine the energy that 9 Dark King had left in his body. When Yi Shan felt that his body was fine, he began to cultivate with Xuexi. Xuexi helped him nourish his body and energy. You're really fine. You scared me to death, Xuexi, who helped Night Sorrow nourish his body, said. This month can't be considered as a total loss. My genuine chi and the energy of the Myriad Tao Tome have become much more solid. I'll just treat it as a consolidation of my cultivation, Night Sorrow said. Don't be rash in the future. If something happens to you, many people will be worried and afraid, Xuexi said to Night Sorrow. I was too nervous at that time and forgot to use the power of rules and the protective barrier to protect my body. I won't do it again, Night Sorrow said. As the level of the opponent increases, you will also have to adapt to the battle with high-level cultivators. The power of rules fuses with energy attacks. Without the power of rules to protect your body, you won't be able to withstand it. Therefore, in the future, you must always use the power of rules to protect your body, Xuexi reminded Night Sorrow. I know. Now there is a very important problem. My genuine chi entered the sage realm with the power of nothingness. However, if I use the power of nothingness to enter the 7th level with my body refining cultivation, it will be equivalent to reducing my future development space, Night Sorrow said. That is indeed the case. However, you can comprehend the power of nothingness because you have the heavenly fate pearl. It will be very difficult for you to comprehend the power of desolation, which is the law of time. Let alone the heavenly fate pearl, you won't even be able to get an origin stone, Xuexi said after hearing Night Sorrow's words. Even so, I can't destroy my own path just because I am anxious. I also need to think about this matter, Night Sorrow said. This matter was a very difficult choice for Night Sorrow. Entering the Golden Body realm with the Myriad Tao treasured scripture was a leap in strength. However, if he used the power of nothingness to advance, the power of desolation would not be able to increase. It would also be a problem if he suppressed it and did not advance. This matter also directly affected the cultivation of Night Sorrow's soul avatar in the heaven-sealing Great Hall. Seeing that Night Sorrow's soul avatar was irritated, the 9 regions' origin energy appeared. Is there a problem? There is a problem with my original body's cultivation. This also affects the achievement of my avatar. You are the 9 regions' origin energy. I would like to ask, Where can I come into contact with the law of the power of desolation? The green-robed Knight Sorrow looked at the 9 regions' origin energy and asked. If it was any other origin law, my original body could solve it at any time. However, after countless years of evolution, my original body condensed a high-level elemental origin, which is Dongshuan's life origin. The main reason is that my original body's evolution direction is the world of life. I can't use other high-level origins. However, the Desolate Sea is still the place where the law of time is displayed. The 9 regions' origin energy shot a beam of energy into the green-robed Knight Sorrow's body. This is a map? The green-robed Knight Sorrow looked at the 9 regions' origin energy and asked in surprise. That's right. That is the place where the law of desolation is the most concentrated. As for whether you can comprehend it or not, it depends on you. I can't help you. The 9 regions' origin energy left after saying that. You can read the rest of the chapter by searching for a basket of erotic books. Chapter 872. At this time, Knight Sorrow's true body had also obtained a map. It was an island in the desolate sea of the realm of unbounded desolation. He searched for Orchid Book Handle and read new chapters. Good. Since there's an opportunity, I have to seize it, Knight Sorrow said as he waved his arm. What's wrong? Xuexi asked as she looked at Knight Sorrow. Following that, Knight Sorrow told her about the origin of the desolation laws. That's great. You'll have a chance to upgrade your body with the time attribute, Xuexi said happily. She hoped to see Knight Sorrow succeed. After drinking a pot of tea, Knight Sorrow left the space-time pagoda and went to the command tent. You're in good shape. You're fine, Long Xianxia said as he looked at Knight Sorrow. It's done. How's the situation now? Knight Sorrow asked. It's stable. The Nether Realm's understanding of formations is very low. They won't be able to break our formation, Long Xianxia said. How are Saint Xiang and Senior Underworld Saint's injuries? Knight Sorrow asked. 2 days ago Heavenly Underworld Saint came out. He is almost fully recovered, but it will take some time for him to fully recover. The same goes for Xiang Saint. There are no major problems. The main thing is that the few Underworld kings who were killed by us managed to inflict some injuries on them. Long Xianxia explained the situation of Heavenly Underworld Saint and Shang Luo. Knight Sorrow nodded. He also understood that it was very difficult to kill a peak saint without suffering any losses. It was already a good thing that both sides weren't injured. After leaving the command tent, Knight Sorrow went to the formation area to take a look. The formation area was guarded by Jun Xuanji and Black Shang. They didn't try to break the formation? Knight Sorrow asked. They tried. Their level of formation masters is very low. It's impossible for them to break our formation. That Underworld King 9 went berserk and attacked for a while. The price we paid was just a few high-grade spirit stones, Jun Xuanji said. Knowing that everything was fine, Knight Sorrow returned to the campsite at the spatial passageway's entrance and checked on the god-slaying team members' cultivation progress. When Knight Sorrow returned to the command tent, many people had already come out of their cultivation areas. Now, everyone was cultivating in the buildings of the Nether Realm. Seeing that Knight Sorrow was fine, everyone was very happy. It could be said that Knight Sorrow was now everyone's backbone. Son, don't be so reckless in the future. That's a pinnacle saint. If you get attacked, you'll die. Yu Qing looked at her son worriedly. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and said, I'll be more careful in the future. The situation is very stable now and they can't break in. There's no need for us to fight to the death with them. When the other 2 pinnacle saints have fully recovered, we can use the harassing and robbing tactics. That is, we can rob the sects, cities and resources of the various forces. Xin Wenxiu said, Commander, that's a good tactic. With our pinnacle saints leading the team, as long as we don't encounter their underworld king, we won't be in any danger. Then let's wait for the 2 saints to recover. Also, I'll be leaving for a while. If anything happens, crush my messaging crystal. I'll rush back immediately. Also, if there's an accident, we can't defend here. Quickly retreat to the Supreme River space and attack the largest ancient tree 10 miles away from the spatial passageway. Knight Sorrow said. Where are you going? Xiejun asked. She didn't want Knight Sorrow to leave now. I have some problems with my cultivation that I need to solve. Knight Sorrow explained the reason why he was leaving. Then go. We'll discuss the small matters. We'll inform you if something big happens. Long Xianxia nodded. He knew that it was very important for Knight Sorrow to improve his strength. There were some things that Knight Sorrow could solve that others couldn't. After leaving the command tent, Knight Sorrow returned to his own tent. After communicating with his parents and 3 fiancés, he sent them to the 60th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. Then he took a teleportation formation and left the spatial passageway. After a few teleportations, Night Sorrow arrived in the realm of unbounded desolation. He teleported to Eastern Desolation City, which was close to the Desolate Sea. Night Sorrow set up a teleportation formation at the edge of the realm's sea. Then he took a flying ship and flew toward the area on the map in his mind. After flying for a while, Night Sorrow controlled the flying ship to fly higher. Because the corrosion of the power of desolation in the Desolate Sea was too strong, the flying ship was affected. On the third day, Night Sorrow arrived at his destination. After storing the flying ship, Night Sorrow used the energy of the myriad Daos tome to protect himself and landed on a deserted island full of yellow speckled stones. There was no life on the island. Because of the corrosion of the power of desolation, no life could survive. At the center of the deserted island was a pool with a diameter of more than 100 feet. The Great Pool. This was the Great Desolate Pond. However, it was many times larger than the one Yishang had seen on Taishu Yan Sea Heart Island. Images of the passage of time appeared in the desolate pond. Streaks of energy floated above the desolate pond. It had rich power of desolates and rich power of desolates laws. Yishan knew that this was the kind of place he needed. At the center of the Great Pool, there was a piece of desolate stone that was about 10 feet wide and contained a very rich energy. Night Sorrow set up a teleportation formation so that he could get to his destination as quickly as possible. As long as the messaging crystal shattered, Night Sorrow could immediately return to the spatial passage in the Supreme River space. After setting up the teleportation formation, Night Sorrow didn't put any spirit stones or teleportation crystals. Because of the corrosion of the power of desolation, the energy in the spirit stones and teleportation crystals would quickly dissipate. After looking around, Night Sorrow's body flashed and landed on the desolate stone. He sorted out his emotions and sat down cross-legged. Then he started to comprehend the power of desolation emitted by the Great Pool. The power of desolation had the ability to accelerate time. In other words, a few days in the Great Pool would be less than a day in the outside world. This situation would be fatal to others because they would lose their lifespan. However, it wasn't the case for Night Sorrow. With the power of desolation's body, the power of desolation couldn't take away his life force. Instead, it helped his cultivation. What he needed the most was time. Night Sorrow's body was inside the space-time pagoda. With the protection of Night Sorrow's body, it wouldn't be invaded. This was equivalent to giving Yi Wuyo, Yu Qing, Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi the time acceleration effect. However, it was synchronized with Night Sorrow. It was the same for Xueshi, who was on the 70th floor. Only when Night Sorrow was on the 70th floor of the space-time pagoda would Little Kong use the power of time to accelerate time. Without Night Sorrow, Xueshi didn't receive this treatment. When Night Sorrow cultivated his soul power and improved his cultivation of the myriad Dao Tome, he was also comprehending the power of desolation. To comprehend the power of desolation, one needed talent and a deep soul power. Night Sorrow had a foundation in both of these. He had good innate conditions. Time passed quickly. As Night Sorrow's cultivation increased, he gradually gained entry into the power of desolation. Scenes of time flowing appeared on Night Sorrow's body. Search for the basket color book to read the rest of the chapter. Chapter 873. In the Realm Sea, on an island in the central prefecture, Jianghu kicked a maidservant away. Commander of two worlds, the higher you climb, the more painful it will be for you to fall. Didn't you declare war on Nether Realm? Then I'll let you die at the hands of Nether Realm people. Search for Lazy Book Bar, and read a new chapter. After reaching the 7th level Venerable Realm, Jianghu disguised himself and went out to gather information. He learned that Yishang had led the 9-domain world to conquer the Profound Mysteries realm and had become the commander. This made him furious. After thinking about it for a moment, Jianghu made his decision. He was going to screw over Night Sorrow and the people of the 9 realms. Right now, he hated all the people of the 9 realms because the Jianghu family had no place in the 9 realms world. They were the public enemy of the 9 realms. After making up his mind, Jianghu went to the Taiching domain and captured an iron guard who was transporting resources to the Supreme River domain. He cruelly made a human skin mask and mixed into the iron guards of the commander's office. Then he followed the other iron guards to transport resources. After a few teleportations, he arrived at the entrance of the Nether Realm. After arriving at the campsite of the Nether Realm, Jianghu was very cautious. He suppressed his time attribute aura and didn't dare to leak it. Most of the higher-ups of the 9-domain world were in secluded cultivation. There weren't many people who knew Jianghu. While chatting with the other iron guards, Jianghu learned that the nine-domain world relied on the Great Formation to resist the enemy's attack. He had a plan in his mind. Jianghu was the same as the others. He cultivated normally. However, he paid attention to the formation and knew who set it up. In the following days, Jianghu came in contact with the formation master and humbly communicated with him. At this time, the people of the nine-domain world and the profound mysteries realm were united. No one thought about the traitor. A few days later, Jianghu and the formation master entered the formation space to inspect. This was the opportunity Jianghu wanted. When this magic formation master went to report to Xiang, Jianghu, who accompanied him, made his move. He swung his sword towards Xiang's head. He wanted to kill Xiang, then take the formation map to the netherworld. When Jianghu made his move, xuanhuan had already noticed it. He immediately showed up beside Xiang and pushed him away with his energy. Then he wielded his long sword and sent out sword chi towards Jianghu. Xuanhuan moved fast, but he was still a bit slow. He managed to push Xiang away, but Jianghu's sword power still cut off Xiang's left arm. Jianghu's body flashed across the air as he grabbed Xiang's broken arm and rushed out of the formation. Xuanhuan and Xiang were watching the netherworld from the edge of the formation. Therefore Jianghu seized the opportunity. Array diagram. Array diagram. Xiang shouted at Xuanhuan, ignoring his bleeding arm. When Xuanhuan chased after Jianghu and cast the four extremes combined attack to trap him, Jianghu shouted, "Seniors from the netherworld, save me. I have a formation map." At that moment, Nine Dark King appeared and sent a palm strike towards Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan's expression changed, and he retreated into the formation. Then he pulled the four extremes combined attack towards the center of the formation. Nine Dark King waved his arm and shattered the space of the four extremes combined attack, then pulled Jianghu to his side. At that moment Long Xianxia arrived. "What's going on? Hurry up and tell Night Sorrow to come back. Something big has happened. Protector Xiang's storage ring has been taken by a traitor. The formation map is inside." Xuanhuan's expression was very unsightly. Tai Shu Yan directly crushed Night Sorrow's messaging crystal. This matter was too serious. "Haha, trash from the Nine Regions world, do you still remember me, Jianghu?" Jianghu took off his mask. "You must die." Tai Shu Yan shouted. "I hate traitors. If you have no value, they won't have to kill you. I will kill you myself." Nine Dark King looked at Jianghu and said, "The formation map is in this storage ring," said Jianghu while holding Xiang's severed arm. "Let's go back." Long Xianxia said in a low voice and returned to the formation. In the command tent, Tai Shu Yan helped Xiang bandage his severed arm. "Grand Elders, this is my responsibility. I didn't think there would be a traitor and I didn't take precautions. I, Xuanhuan, am willing to accept the punishment." Xuanhuan bowed. "This matter isn't your fault, and it's not the time to find out who is responsible. Now is the time to solve this crisis," said Xiajun. "If they break the formation, then not only will we lose our advantage, we'll also be in a passive position. So, how to save the situation is the most urgent matter," said Xianhuan. "If the formation is broken, then we'll definitely lose our advantage. However, we won't be in a passive position because the commander still has a backup plan. I can't understand that formation, so they won't be able to break it." Xuanhuan said that Night Sorrow had set up a formation in Supreme River's space. "Fortunately, the situation isn't too bad. Master Xiang, can they break the formation with your formation map?" Xiajun asked Xiang. "They need the cultivation of a formation grandmaster to understand a little of the formation map. With the formation map in their hands, it'll be a hidden danger. However, there won't be any problems for a few days. Let the commander come back and solve it." Xiang's face was pale. "I've already informed the commander," said Tai Shu Yan. Night Sorrow, who was cultivating, opened his eyes. He had almost mastered the law of desolates. Now he just needed to familiarize himself with it. The breaking of the communication crystal made him a little anxious. When he stood up, Night Sorrow's robes turned to dust. Night Sorrow knew that he had been meditating for at least a year and a half. As for how much time had passed in the outside world, he really didn't know. Yishang used the desolate's attribute to protect his body. After putting on his robe, his body flashed and left the Great Desolation Pool. Then he went to the transmission array and activated it. Yishang began to teleport. After a series of teleportations, Night Sorrow returned to the entrance of the spatial tunnel and went directly to the command tent. Who did it? Seeing Xiang missing an arm, Night Sorrow's eyes flashed and he looked at Xuanhuan. "Don't glare at me. Although I'm at fault, it wasn't me," said Xuanhuan. Then Tai Shuyan explained the cause and process of the matter. Protector He Shang, I'm sorry. This was caused by me. Jiyu hates me. Knight Sorrow bowed to He Shang. Young master, this is not your fault. We are now united and did not suspect the insiders. He Shang helped Knight Sorrow up with one hand. Protector He Shang, I, Knight Sorrow, swear to get justice for you. Knight Sorrow looked at He Shang and said, this subordinate understands. He Shang nodded. Everything else is a pirated version. Martial Uncle Tai, go and make the arrangements. Other than the commander's residence members and the array masters, everyone else will retreat to the Supreme River space. Let's camp 30 li away from the spatial tunnel. Jiyu wanted to play with me, right? I want to see how he will play with me. Knight Sorrow said coldly. Can you turn the situation around? Xuanhuan looked at Knight Sorrow and asked. Isn't that obvious? Knight Sorrow glanced at Xuanhuan. Baidu Myriad Daos Become Expressions book, and read it for free. Chapter 874. Xuanhuan didn't care about Knight Sorrow's reprimand and asked, can you really turn the tables around? He searched for rotten book handle, and read new chapters. Of course. I won't make a single mistake that will cost me everything. Now do as I say, said Knight Sorrow. That's good. Otherwise, I'd be a sinner if I ended up in a passive position because of my negligence. Xuanhuan breathed a sigh of relief. Xuanhuan was a strong person. He had lost to the 9 regions world in Knight Sorrow, but the Profound Mysteries Realm's outcome was still very good. Now he wanted to prove his worth. He didn't want to ruin the situation because of his negligence. He didn't want Knight Sorrow to vent his anger on the Profound Mysteries Realm because of this. Tai Shuyan and the others arranged for the 2 regions' forces to be stationed in the Supreme River space about 15 kilometers away from the spatial channel. Apart from the commander's residence's members and saints, there were only formation masters in the command tent. Protector He Shang, this is all my fault. Knight Sorrow looked at He Shang apologetically. Young Tower Master, it's fine. As long as I don't fall, I'll continue to fight, said He Shang. Knight Sorrow nodded. He first went to activate the 1000 derivation killing formation. Next, he went to the edge of the heavenly cycle formation to take a look before returning to the command tent. Formation masters, go and monitor the formation. When their forces enter the formation, just return with me, said Knight Sorrow. What's the point of informing you? Aren't we still going to retreat? Asked Xuanhuan. It's very useful. While you were setting up the formation, I wasn't idle either. I also set up a composite formation. As long as you casually insert spirit stones into the formation, the 1000 derivation illusory formation I set up will be fully activated. Who knows who will be the unlucky one? Said Knight Sorrow. The illusory formations you set up are composite formations. Xuanhuan looked at Knight Sorrow in astonishment. I don't mind telling you that I'm also a formation grandmaster, said Knight Sorrow as he brewed tea. Ha, the commander-in-chief has returned. Suppressing all sides, I feel at ease, Xianxia said with a smile. Let them try to break the formation. Whoever comes in will die. I told my people to back out because I don't want any spies from Jiyu's family to be in there. Besides, even if some spies manage to break in, they won't be able to escape from either side. Knight Sorrow said while pouring tea for everyone. Indeed. Originally, when our Profound Mysteries realm lost, I thought that it was due to luck. But now it seems that it's not the case. Lord Commander, you are the mastermind. No matter how we fight, we will lose, Xianluo said. Knight Sorrow is deeply sorry for the damage I've caused to the Profound Mysteries realm. After this war ends, I will go to the Profound Mysteries royal city to pay my respects to the living beings who died in battle. I will also offer my apologies to all the living beings in the Profound Mysteries realm. Knight Sorrow stood up and bowed to Xianwenxiu and Xiangluo. At this moment, the members of the Profound Mysteries realm cupped their fists towards Knight Sorrow in return. There's no need for that. We know that there's no right or wrong in war. We're already grateful that you're treating the Profound Mysteries realm well, Xianwenxiu said. Protector He Shang, go treat your injuries, said Xianxia. Everyone felt helpless about He Shang's severed arm. Saints could regrow severed limbs but sovereigns couldn't. He Shang's severed arm had been taken away, and he had lost the chance to reattach it. Commander, when are you going to break through to the Saint realm? Asked the Flying Tiger Saint. Anytime. I just want to stabilize my foundation. Right now, my main research direction is the cultivation of my body. This time, I went out to find an opportunity for my body to break through, said Knight Sorrow. How is it? Asked Long Xianxing. It's fine. The main thing is that I don't want my true chi and body to advance due to a type of law. Now that I've found an opportunity, I'll try to break through later, said Night Sorrow. You'll be the youngest saint in the history of the 9 regions world. There hasn't even been a sovereign in his 20s, said Long Xianxia excitedly. It's just that my luck is a bit better, said Night Sorrow with a smile. Night Sorrow, you've walked step by step. I've seen how much you've sacrificed. I know how hard you've worked. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow. After chatting for a while, everyone went to rest and cultivate. Wu Lingfei and Night Sorrow went to Night Sorrow's tent. Aunt Fei, it's been hard on everyone while I wasn't here. Night Sorrow took out a jug of wine and handed it to Wu Lingfei. It's nothing. You've arranged everything and we're just following your plan. Even so, this mess still happened. It seems we really can't do without you here. The others can fight, but they're not as good as you when it comes to managing the situation, said Wu Lingfei as she took a sip of wine. Let's stabilize for a few days and see how things go. If it's still like this, we'll give him a heavy blow. I can't let Jianghu have a good time, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, you've changed. You've matured and you're smiling more. This is what I want to see. No matter what happens, you can face it with a smile, said Wu Lingfei. She knew that the Night Sorrow in front of her was no longer the child who had risked his life with her in Eastern Snow Mountain. He was now the commander in charge of 2 regions. After chatting with Wu Lingfei for a while, Night Sorrow brought his parents out of the space-time pagoda and began to meditate. He continued to analyze and comprehend the laws of desolation. Although he wasn't in the Great Wasteland Pool, he still had some insights. After cultivating for 4 or 5 days, there was still no movement from the Netherworld realm. Night Sorrow planned to add fuel to the fire. After having Taishu Yen inform everyone to gather in the command tent, Night Sorrow once more patrolled the formation. Seeing that the Netherworld realm still hadn't begun to break the formation, he returned to the main seat in the tent and sat down. A while ago, I mentioned that the battle of harassment and the battle of resources can still be carried out. Seniors Long Xianxia and Xianxia will each lead a team. I don't want too many people, just 4 or 5 elites. Grandfather, father, you 2 will each lead a team, said Night Sorrow. So it's killing people, setting fires and then plundering resources. That's it, said Xuanhuan as he looked at Night Sorrow. Haha, that's it. But I still need to talk about the things you need to pay attention to. This kind of battle requires you to be mobile. In other words, you can't let people surround you. If you want to control the situation well, you need to control the transportation formation well. Night Sorrow laughed and explained in detail how he had fought such battles in the past. Cut off the enemy's call for reinforcements, insert the transportation crystal, and be able to teleport at will. This method is good. Xianhuan nodded. Senior Shang Sheng and Senior Heavenly Underworld Sheng, stay here and pay attention to the situation outside the formation. If the Netherworld King dares to leave, then the 2 of you will lead the other saints to kill. Remember to destroy the transportation formation first, so that the Netherworld King won't be able to come back in time. Night Sorrow then arranged his second plan. Everyone nodded. Yishang's plan was well thought out and had no loopholes at all. Then Night Sorrow asked Taishu Yen to allocate resources for everyone. Then Long Xianxia and Xianhuan each chose 3 or 4 people, respectively leading Yi Wuyo and Yi Linghuan to leave the spatial passage through the transportation formation. Baidu 10,000 Dao into Expression Book, to read for free. Chapter 875. Alright, Uncle Master, if you need anything, just crush my messaging crystal. Yi Shan took out a messaging crystal and tossed it to Taishu Yen. Search for Orchid Book Handle. What are you going to do now? What's the situation now? Jun Xuanji asked when he saw that Night Sorrow was about to leave again. I want to cultivate. Night Sorrow got up and walked towards his tent. Elder Jun, please understand. When we were fighting against the Profound Mysteries realm, he didn't want to be a commander. He was forced to do so by a group of seniors. He's essentially a cultivation maniac. Otherwise, he would have attacked the Sage realm in his 20s, Taishu Yen said. This is an era that belongs to people like him. If it was peacetime, he might be an expert of a generation, Jun Xuanji said. After entering the tent, Night Sorrow saw Yu Qing. Mother, we had no choice but to arrange a mission for father. Only father and grandfather are following us. Even if something happens, a small team will be able to come back alive, Night Sorrow explained to his mother. Mother understands. Mother wants to tell you that she plans to go back to the city in the sky to see your sister, Yu Qing said. That's what you should do. Mother, bring my sister and old man Gu to Night Moon Dynasty's camp and let my sister and great aunt stay together. Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow had been thinking about this matter. He didn't want something like old man Gu to happen again. Alright, mother will leave first. Send me through the formation, Yu Qing said to Night Sorrow. Yes. Night Sorrow nodded, then sent Yu Qing out of the 1000 derivation killing formation and out of the portal of the Medicine Valley. Only then did he return to the portal. Night Sorrow found Taishu Yen and ordered the secret agents of the Commander-in-Chief's mansion to move out. They had to find out where Yu Qing's family was hiding. Lord K has already arranged for people from Tianji Tower to investigate this matter. The results will be out soon. Because our Tianjin Tower has been developing for countless years, our intelligence system is very developed. We have people in Jiu's family. It's just that the news hasn't spread yet, said Taishu Yen. This Jiu family is too despicable, we have to uproot them, said Night Sorrow. He didn't want Jiu family to cause any more trouble. Taishu Yen nodded. She also hated Jiu's family very much. They were too shameless and would do anything, even betraying the 9 regions. What else could they not do? After exchanging a few words with Taishu Yen and Jun Xuanji, Night Sorrow returned to his tent. After entering the tent, Night Sorrow flashed into the spacetime pagoda and went to the 60th floor. Xueshi was also on the 60th floor together with Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei and Aoi. The 4 of them were getting along very well. Has the matter been taken care of? Sikong Chuyu asked as he made tea. It has been taken care of. Night Sorrow nodded. He hadn't closed off his soul power, so Xueshi knew what was going on outside. At the same time, she also told Sikong Chuyu and the other 2. Jiuhao, that bastard has been caught. It wouldn't be too much to cut him into pieces, always said hatefully. Jiu, you should rejoice. Rejoice that our 13 has appeared. Otherwise he wouldn't be a man, Yang Lei said. Ninth senior sister, let's not talk about that disgusting thing. He can't do anything in front of Night Sorrow, Sikong Chuyu said. After that, Night Sorrow told the girls that he planned to enter seclusion to break through to the sage stage. Is it dangerous? Sikong Chuyu looked at Xueshi and asked. It's not dangerous. Night Sorrow's soul power has condensed into a divine bead, and he has also mastered the power of law. Advancing is not a problem, Xueshi said. But it will take some time, Night Sorrow said. Knowing that there was no danger, Sikong Chuyu and the other 2 were relieved. What they cared about was Night Sorrow's safety. Night Sorrow then entered the 70th floor of the spacetime pagoda and drank a few mouthfuls of wine. Then he sat down cross-legged and began cultivating. If a sage wanted to enter the sage stage, he had to fuse the power of law, soul power, and true energy. Then he had to compress them into a Dan bead, filling the Dan bead with the power of law. That way, his true energy could erupt at any time with the might of the power of law. Night Sorrow slowly fused his soul power, power of law, and true energy, allowing this special energy to flow through his veins. After stabilizing himself, Night Sorrow started to compress the liquid true qi into the elixir bead. This was a slow process. It was very difficult to compress the liquid true energy into the Dan bead. Yishang was not in a hurry. This was a milestone in the process of cultivation. Once he crossed it, his path would be smooth, and he would become a saint that everyone had to respect. Time passed little by little. The true energy in Night Sorrow's dantian was getting less and less. The size of the Dan bead was getting bigger and bigger. 2 days, 3 days. On the 4th day, there were only 2 faint wisps of true energy left in Night Sorrow's dantian. The purple Dan bead, which was twice as big as before, was slowly rotating in his dantian. After controlling the last 2 wisps of true energy to enter the Dan bead, Night Sorrow's Dan bead shook and began to rotate rapidly. Then, true energy with threads and stripes emerged from the Dan bead. This was true energy with the power of law. Sage, the true energy contained the power of law. This was the sign of a sage. At this time, Night Sorrow was already a 7th level cultivator, a sage. It's a success. Night Sorrow has entered the sage stage. Xueshi, who was connected to Night Sorrow's soul, excitedly told Sikong Chuyu and the other 2 girls. This is a big celebration. Sage. A few years ago, our Medicine Valley was still having a headache over the emergence of a sage. Now, a sage has appeared in front of us. Yang Lei was very excited. Yes, the world is changing. There are some things that we can't even dream of in the past. Aoi also had a deep feeling. As Night Sorrow entered the sage stage, the clone in the Heaven Sealing Hall also reached this level. The 9 regions' origin shield shone brightly and was much more powerful than before. There were also changes in the Medicine Valley. The 8-dragon cauldron above Danding Cliff spun rapidly. The multicolored light rippled in all directions. Then there was the sound of bells and drums. The melodious sound echoed in the Medicine Valley. This made everyone in the Medicine Valley come to the foot of Danding Cliff. They didn't understand why such a situation would happen. At this time, Danding Cliff was full of multicolored light. The melodious drum sounded 12 times before it stopped. The multicolored light fell on the statue of Night Sorrow, which was 3,000 meters away from Danding Cliff. Such a phenomenon of heaven and earth made everyone confused. They didn't know what was going on. Something big happened in the Medicine Valley. No matter how big it was, the bells and drums only sounded 9 times at the same time. Everyone also knew that the 8-dragon cauldron, as a treasure with a weapon spirit, would not act recklessly or make a long sound randomly. Xianxia stood on the viewing peak opposite Danding Cliff and bowed to the 8-dragon cauldron. "Senior, can you tell me what happened?" "There's no harm in telling you. My holy treasure is Night Sorrow. Congratulations on becoming a sage, Night Sorrow." "Congratulations." The 8-dragon cauldron's voice sounded on Danding Cliff. "In the past 2 days, my work and rest schedule have been really unstable. Yesterday I was busy all day and was half dead tired. When I came back to sleep, I got up at 11 o'clock in the middle of the night to write. I wrote until 6 o'clock in the morning and had to sleep until the afternoon. I got up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to revise and update my manuscript. I'm also a talent. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the brothers and sisters who unlocked the seal yesterday. Baidu the Book of Myriad Tao into expressions, and read it for free." Chapter 876. Congratulations to Night Sorrow for becoming a saint. When the 8-dragon cauldron's voice came out, the tens of thousands of people around Pill Tripod Cliff suddenly quieted down. This news was too shocking, so everyone's emotions stopped. They searched for Lazy Book Bar, and read new chapters. After calming down, Xianxia asked again, "Senior, are you saying that Night Sorrow, the Deputy Valley Master of the Medicine Valley, has broken through the Venerable Realm and entered the Saint Realm and become a saint?" "Yes, he has just broken through and become a saint." "Well, let's disperse." The 8-dragon cauldron withdrew the light, and Pill Tripod Cliff returned to normal. The disciples of the Medicine Valley had dispersed, but the sensation it caused was still there. Those who had a good relationship with each other were discussing this matter together. Some disciples with family forces also went to inform their families. A powerful venerable could change the structure and status of the major sects in the Eastern Profound Domain, let alone a saint. The news quickly spread. In the Pill Tripod Hall, the high-level members of the Medicine Valley were all present. "Aha, a saint, a 7th-level saint. Our Medicine Valley has a 7th-level saint." The first elder laughed. "That's right. Now, who can look down on our Medicine Valley? Who dares to annex our Medicine Valley?" Hua Yunpeng was also very excited. "How long has it been since Deputy Valley Master Night Sorrow entered the sect?" 7 or 8 years. In less than 10 years, he has entered the 7th-level saint from no cultivation. This is a miracle in the history of cultivation, and a miracle in our Medicine Valley, Yi Xiling said. "Ha, so handsome," Gong Shen said happily. As the Commander-in-Chief of the Commander-in-Chief of the 2 Commander-in-Chief's manors, he has prestige and benevolence. After entering the Saint Realm, Night Sorrow's personal strength has also reached the peak. Our Medicine Valley really has to thank our ancestors, Xianxia said. "Valley Master, you have recruited a good disciple." The first elder looked at Xianxia and said. At that time he was still young and didn't show his talent. If they knew his achievements today, who could and who would dare to accept him as a disciple? "I'm ashamed to say this," Xianxia said with a bitter smile. "Now that the 9 regions world and the profound world are fighting in the supreme plane and nether realm, our Medicine Valley is not even qualified to contribute. And Night Sorrow is the Commander-in-Chief." "You can't say that. Didn't Elder Yang Lei and Elder Qing Ji go with them? Guan Yi and Qing Zhen are there too. Ma Shizhuang and the other 2 are doing well in the Deicide squad. The future of the Medicine Valley belongs to the young people," Yin Beiji said. At this moment, tribulation clouds appeared at the entrance of the Netherworld realm, causing everyone to feel oppressed. Everyone in the Nether realm left the camp. Tribulation clouds. "Someone has become a saint," Nine Hades said as he looked at the tribulation clouds in the sky. In the 9 regions world's camp, everyone looked at the tribulation clouds in the sky. In the 9 regions world's camp, Taishu Yen looked at Heavenly Underworld Saint and asked, "Could it be that the Commander-in-Chief has become a saint? What is he doing in the Pagoda of Time?" Heavenly Underworld Saint said, "The tribulation lightning cannot be avoided. It will fall soon and attack Night Sorrow's holy treasure as well." Little Kong contacted Night Sorrow and told him about the tribulation lightning that had appeared in Night Sorrow's tribulation lightning. Night Sorrow, who had stabilized his cultivation, came out of the Pagoda of Time and Space. Then, he sent everyone out of the pagoda of time and space. He could not let the tribulation lightning destroy the formation. After Night Sorrow passed through the spatial tunnel, the tribulation clouds disappeared from the nether world. The tribulation clouds appeared directly in the supreme river space. Heavenly Underworld Saint and the others followed behind Night Sorrow and crossed the array formation. Night Sorrow's tribulation was such a big matter, they all wanted to see it. In any case, with the array formation's defense, the people of Nether Realm couldn't break in. After Night Sorrow crossed the 1000 amplification killing array, the tribulation clouds pressed down very low. The Heavenly Underworld Saint and the others did not follow, they all watched from afar. After steadying himself, Night Sorrow pulled out his right hand and grabbed the reincarnation spear. If one had heaven-defying achievements, they would have to accept the test of the Heavenly Tao. This was not the Heavenly Tao of the Nine Domains world, nor was it the Heavenly Tao of the Supreme River Dimension. This was the Heavenly Tao of the Greater Thousand Worlds. Just as Night Sorrow was ready, the tribulation clouds rolled and thunder boomed. A purplish-black lightning bolt, as thick as a human head, struck towards Night Sorrow. The lightning bolt was filled with electric snakes. It was the law of lightning. Night Sorrow's body shook and a crescent blade shot out from his back. A spatial crack appeared in the path of the lightning bolt. The lightning bolt directly passed through the spatial storm in the spatial crack and continued to fall. One spatial crack didn't have much of an effect, so Night Sorrow continued to cast spatial cracks, creating 3 spatial cracks in a row. These 3 spatial cracks consumed half of the purplish-black lightning bolt's power. Then, Night Sorrow's soul power, along with the law of lightning, enveloped the direction where the lightning bolt was falling. At a speed visible to the naked eye, this tyrannical lightning bolt was slowly dissipated. When it reached Night Sorrow, it disappeared. Powerful. He destroyed the first lightning bolt without using his true chi. Xianglue said in surprise. I wonder how many lightning bolts there are. Wu Lingfei was a little worried. She knew that when Night Sorrow entered the Sovereign Realm, he had to face 3 lightning bolts. Don't worry. I believe that he can safely pass through it. Heavenly Underworld Saint said. At this moment, the second lightning bolt fell. Night Sorrow used spatial cracks again, but only twice. He could now use spatial cracks 6 to 7 times, but sometimes he still had to hold back. This time, Night Sorrow swung the spacetime pagoda and smashed it against the lightning bolt. With a loud explosion, the lightning bolt was offset. The spacetime pagoda spun and fell into Night Sorrow's hand. Looking at the spacetime pagoda, Night Sorrow was shocked. After entering the Saint Realm, he could completely control the spacetime pagoda. Its power was much stronger than before. He passed through 2 lightning bolts just like that. Powerful. I have to admire him. Jun Xuanji said. After Night Sorrow survived the second bolt of tribulation lightning, the third bolt of tribulation lightning descended. At this moment, Night Sorrow's body flashed and soared into the sky. He began to attack the lightning bolt with his spear. At this moment, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear was filled with the power of the Void Law. As Night Sorrow attacked quickly, the third lightning bolt went from thick to thin to nothing. After landing on the ground, Night Sorrow continued to look at the sky. He didn't know how many lightning bolts there were, but he wasn't afraid. Following this, the fourth lightning bolt fell. At this moment, Night Sorrow did something that shocked everyone. He stabbed his reincarnation spear to the side and raised his hands. He punched the fourth lightning bolt. Every punch contained the image of the passage of time. Night Sorrow punched more than 20 times consecutively. As he punched, he retreated 30 steps. After 30 punches, Night Sorrow dispersed the fourth lightning bolt. After repelling the fourth lightning bolt, Night Sorrow returned to his original position and continued to look at the sky. At this moment, the tribulation clouds had no intention of dispersing. They were still rolling and brewing. What's going on? 4 lightning bolts, and the tribulation clouds haven't dispersed yet? They're still going to attack, Xianjun said in surprise. This also shows how heaven-defying and powerful the commander is, Xianglue said. Please give me a tip. The ranking list is almost gone. Please give me essential oil. Please give me an excavator. I'm full of energy after waking up today. Search the basket to read the rest of the chapters. Chapter 877. At this time, another explosion rang out. A bolt of lightning even more ferocious than the previous 4 bolts fell. The tribulation clouds also scattered. That meant this was the last bolt of tribulation lightning. Come. Night Sorrow made a decision that shocked everyone. He took off his robes and hung them on his reincarnation spear. Then energy began to circulate around his body. What's he trying to do? Xianjun looked at Wu Lingfei. He's trying to use lightning to strengthen his body. Wu Lingfei narrowed her eyes at Night Sorrow. She knew that Night Sorrow knew this was the last bolt of tribulation lightning, so he wasn't afraid. He was going to accept the baptism of lightning. At this time, the fifth bolt of lightning fell on Night Sorrow's body. The phenomenon of time flowing appeared on Night Sorrow's body. After a moment of deadlock, his protective energy was shattered. The lightning directly struck Night Sorrow's body. At this time, Night Sorrow was bathed in purplish-black lightning. While the lightning was destroying Night Sorrow's body, it was also destroying the impurities within Night Sorrow's body. Night Sorrow's body was already half transformed into energy. The lightning had damaged some of his body's structure, but the energy was quickly repaired. This was a cycle of consumption. To the lightning it was a consumption. To Night Sorrow it was also a consumption. But right now the myriad Dao Tome's energy was at its peak, so he wasn't afraid of consumption. Furthermore, this was also a process of strengthening his body. If he could endure it, he would gain some benefits. Night Sorrow didn't feel anything as he stood within the lightning. But in the eyes of others, his figure was imposing and domineering. That was because no one would dare to do such a thing. After a quarter of an hour, this bolt of lightning dissipated. The myriad Dao Tome's energy within Night Sorrow's body had been used up. Yishang's body shook as he roared at the sky. His hair, which was covered in purple flames, stood on end. After putting on his robes, Night Sorrow sat down and began to cultivate. After breaking through, he had to endure the tribulation lightning. His cultivation base hadn't completely stabilized yet. This was also why he didn't use much true chi to endure the tribulation lightning. While Night Sorrow was meditating, five-colored light appeared where the tribulation clouds had originally been. Within the light there was also a golden light that made people feel respect. Virtuous merit energy. Virtuous merit energy. Heavenly Underworld Saint looked at the light and golden light in surprise. The multicolored light and the golden light landed on Yishang's body. Then Yishang's energy wrapped around them and pulled them into his body. Withstanding the Thunder God's punishment with his body, how domineering. A saint in his 20s, that's a legend. Withstanding the Thunder God's punishment, that's a legend among legends, Saint Tian Hades sighed. That's great. Now that the commander has become a saint, the morale of our army will be greatly boosted, Xianhuan said. After sitting cross-legged and cultivating for 2 days, Yishang finally stopped and stood up. Seeing that Night Sorrow was done, the higher-ups of the two worlds who were waiting by the side cupped their hands and congratulated him. Night Sorrow smiled and said, "Thank you everyone for guarding me. I'm fine now. Martial uncle, I don't have any wine here. Get someone to get some. We'll hold a banquet tonight to celebrate." "No problem, Commander, don't worry. I'll arrange it," Taishu Yen said. After that, Night Sorrow followed the group of people into the formation. Without Night Sorrow leading the way, no one would be able to pass through the 1000 amplification killing formation. After arriving at his tent, Night Sorrow sat down. Always smiled and handed Night Sorrow a jar of wine. "Sixth senior sister, do you have more?" Night Sorrow asked with a smile. Always smiled and said, "There's more. Don't worry, sixth senior sister can provide you with wine. There's a lot in the cellar of our mansion in Sky City." "That's great. I'm really not used to drinking other kinds of wine," Night Sorrow said with a smile. "You've entered the sage realm and become a saint. We have to work hard too," Sikong Chiyu said. "You don't have to rush. Take your time." Night Sorrow shook his head. He didn't want the girls to feel pressured. In the evening, Night Sorrow participated in the banquet. At the same time he asked about the situation. After knowing that the Nine Dark King was still outside the formation, he felt more at ease. Since the Nine Dark King was still outside the formation, the people from the Nine Domain World and Profound Mysteries World couldn't attack. At the same time, it also meant that the two groups led by Long Xianxia and Xuanhuan were safe. Night Sorrow asked about the strength of the peak saints on both sides. Long Xianxia and the Nine Dark King were on par. Xuanhuan was slightly weaker. The Nine Dark King could suppress him, but he couldn't injure or defeat him. On the other hand, Xuanhuan could suppress the Seven Fiends King. The Seven Fiends King and the Six Soul King were slightly stronger than the Heavenly Underworld Saint and Shangluo. The weakest was the Five Puppet King. In other words, as long as the Nine Dark King didn't return, Long Xianxia and Xuanhuan's groups were absolutely safe. After finishing the banquet, Night Sorrow greeted Taishu Yen and the other saints. Then he went to the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda to stabilize his cultivation. At the same time he continued to comprehend the Desolation Law. As he had just entered the Sage Realm, Night Sorrow's cultivation wasn't stable yet. In addition, the five-colored light that entered his body could increase his overall strength. It was of great help to his true chi, soul power, myriad Dao tome, and physical strength. While Night Sorrow was stabilizing his cultivation, the people from the nine-domain world and profound mysteries world were also steadily increasing their strength. Everything had been going smoothly recently. Even if there was a traitor, Night Sorrow wouldn't be able to do anything. In the Nether Realms camp, the Nine Dark King was studying the formation every day. The level of the Nether Realms formation masters was very low. She could only study it by herself. As she studied the formation diagrams, her formation skills also increased sharply. This was the advantage of having a strong soul power and talent. Jianghu's current treatment wasn't bad. He had his own tent and was treated with good wine and meat. However, his freedom was restricted. The Nine Dark King didn't completely trust him. A few days later, the Seven Fiend King and the Five Puppet King brought the Nether Realms army and experts to the spatial tunnel. They also brought news that the Nether Realm was in chaos. The plan is very comprehensive. The attack will be carried out step by step. The Nine Dark King was wearing golden armor, but he didn't wear a helmet. Among his golden hair, two curved horns were emitting a shocking aura. Nine Dark King, what should we do now? Many cities are being attacked. They are killing people, setting fires, and robbing resources. King Wugong asked. Once we leave here to intercept their troops, they will definitely rush out and attack us. The Nine Dark King thought for a moment and figured out the stakes. And the other three Dark Kings nodded. They knew that the Nine Dark King's analysis was correct. Seven Fiend King, you will bring the Six Soul King and the Five Puppet King to control this matter. After gathering all the high-level warriors here, arrange for communication crystals to be used between the cities. Close all the teleportation formations except for the Imperial City. This way, if we discover their tracks, it will be difficult for them to run away. After restricting their range of activity, inform this king. The Nine Dark King thought for a while and came up with a countermeasure. Search the basket to read the rest of the chapter. Chapter 878. Seven Fiends King accepted the order and left the command tent with Six Soul King and Five Puppet King. He searched for Lazy Book Bar, and read the latest chapter. Nine King continued to study the formation. The two teams led by Long Xianxia and xuanhuan were very effective. They had conquered many cities and earned a lot of spirit stones, materials, and pills. However, when all the teleportation formations in the cities were closed, it would be difficult for them to carry out their raids. After discussing with Yi Wuyo and the rest, Long Xianxia decided to change their strategy. They would not attack the cities consecutively, but they would attack from one place to another. Shang Luo and Yi Linghuan also made the same decision. Although the efficiency would be greatly reduced, the battle could still be carried out. Such a situation gave Seven Fiends King a headache. There was no way to confirm the whereabouts of the two teams. Seven Fiends King had no choice but to seek an audience with Nine King. Nine King pondered for a moment and made a decision. He would hide all the teleportation formations in the cities and not allow ordinary people to use them. Only the Nine King had the rights to use them. In other words, they would only be used as strategic teleportation formations. With such a strategy, Seven Fiends King led Six Soul King and Five Puppet King to capture Long Xianxia and the rest. When Long Xianxia and the rest thought that there was no teleportation formation, the other party used a teleportation formation to support them. Long Xianxia could suppress Seven Fiends King and even kill him if he had the time. However, Six Soul King and Five Puppet King were still around. If they fought head-on, the rest would be in danger. After that, Yi Wuyo tore the space apart. Long Xianxia used the chaotic space to suppress Seven Fiends King and the rest. When Yi Wuyo and the rest entered the chaotic space, he followed them. Yi Wuyo and the rest traversed through the chaotic space. There was a limit to the distance, but Long Xianxia was strong. With the chaotic space to control the damage caused by the chaotic space, the few of them traversed a few thousand miles and got rid of Seven Fiends King and the other two. We can't fight anymore. They have some preventive measures now. Let's go back and ask Night Sorrow for his opinion. Long Xianxia said. Yi Wuyo and the others also nodded. They didn't have the strength to fight against the three underworld kings, so they could only go back and ask Night Sorrow how to deal with this. When they flew back to the teleportation array, they met the team led by xuanhuan. Both teams had encountered the same situation. Xuanhuan had a defensive high-level sacred treasure, so his team was not injured. Then, the two teams were teleported to the entrance of the spatial passage. After learning about the situation, Tai Shu Yen went to Night Sorrow's tent. Knowing that Night Sorrow was cultivating, she wanted to crush the messaging crystal, but Xuexi stopped her. She could contact Night Sorrow. Xuexi shook the God Pearl and Night Sorrow woke up from his meditation. He then came to the tent. After listening to Tai Shu Yen explain the situation, Night Sorrow went to the command tent. Seeing that Night Sorrow had become a saint, Long Xianxing and Xian Wenxiu congratulated him and told him about the situation. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, "Their reaction is very fast, but two seniors, we can't stop the battle just like that. We have to take advantage of them." Long Xianxing asked, "Well, we can still take advantage of them." "Of course. This time, two seniors, Heavenly Underworld Saint and Shang Saint, will also fight. They will follow Senior Long Xianxing secretly. Senior Xian Saint's team will appear and fight. If the three Underworld Kings dare to chase after them, well, I don't need to say more." Night Sorrow said. "Great, this plan is really great." Xian Wenxiu admired Night Sorrow's plan. Not only him, everyone admired it. "This plan must be carried out quickly. If we are slow, they will wake up and realize it. I can only trouble you seniors. In addition, grandfather, father, you have to follow." Senior Long Xianxing left the messaging crystal. "Once Nine Underworld King leaves, we will crush the crystal and everyone will stop and come back." Night Sorrow continued to talk about the details of the plan. "The plan is perfect. Let's do it." Long Xianxing said. "If it goes well, we can take advantage of one or two Underworld Kings. Remember, you only have to fight once. No matter the result, you have to come back because you only have one chance to take advantage of them." Night Sorrow reminded everyone. Soon after, Long Xianxing and the others took the teleportation array and left. Jun Xuanji also followed because she had the 4 extreme kill and could control the other party to escape. After sending off the group of saints, Tai Shu Yen looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Commander, let's not talk about your combat strength. Your brain is also so flexible. Martial Uncle really can't understand." Night Sorrow said with a smile, "Actually, it's just a suitable arrangement. Fortunately, the effect is not bad." "It's not just not bad. It's simply a perfect battle strategy." Tai Shu Yen shook her head. She admired Night Sorrow from the bottom of her heart. When she first met Night Sorrow was still very young. Night Sorrow then returned to his own tent to cultivate. He didn't follow because he wouldn't be of much use in a battle between peak saints. It was better for him to cultivate quietly. Tai Shu Yen brought people to observe the situation of the other party in the teleportation array. Their main purpose was to check if the Nine Underworld King was here. If he wasn't, they would have to inform Long Xianxing and the others. Although Night Sorrow was worried, he was still able to calm down. Every day, apart from cultivating, he would walk around the camp inside the spatial channel and watch the members of the god-slaying team cultivate. When he arrived at the camp again, Night Sorrow received a message from the people guarding the spatial channel that his mother had returned. He rushed to the channel between the Medicine Valley and the Supreme River space and brought his mother, Xianxiao, and Papa Gu over. Xianxiao and Papa Gu were both people that Night Sorrow cared about. He told Xianxia to take care of them and not let anyone other than Night Moon come into contact with them. This arrangement was because Night Sorrow was worried that there were spies from the Jiyu clan in the camp. Jiyu was in the Nether Realm, but there was another person in the Jiyu clan, Ji Haitian. According to the information that Night Sorrow had received, Ji Haitian had disappeared after he lost the fight with Ji Fenglan for control of the Jiyu clan. He was a member of the Jiyu clan, and he had no bottom line. Night Sorrow had to guard against him. As time passed, Night Sorrow's cultivation base became more and more stable. In addition, Night Sorrow could sense the changes in the void fiendish space. The empty fiendish space and the emptiness fate pearl continued to merge. The area and space were both shrinking. When they were all merged into the emptiness fate pearl, the emptiness fate pearl was a spatial world that was under Yishang's control. Night Sorrow would sometimes discuss formations with Black Shang, but Night Sorrow didn't teach him about the Thousand Derivation formation. It wasn't that Night Sorrow wasn't broad-minded enough, but that the Thousand Derivation formation was too important. It was related to the safety of Clear Sky City and the Heaven Sealing Palace. The Heaven Sealing Palace was also related to the safety of the 9 regions. There couldn't be the slightest mistake. On the 9th day after Long Xianxing and the others left, Tai Shu Yen reported that the 9 Dark King had left the camp. Night Sorrow asked Tai Shu Yen to crush Long Xuanxing's messaging crystal. He knew that his plan had come to fruition. As for the result, he would only know when Long Xianxing and the others returned. Night Sorrow was somewhat excited. If Long Xianxing and the others carried out the plan perfectly, then they could eliminate most of the Netherrealm's forces and change the direction of the war. On the 3rd day after Tai Shu Yen crushed the messaging crystal, Long Xianxing and the others returned. Search the basket to read the rest of the chapter. Chapter 879. Knight Sorrow didn't ask anything. First, he did a head count to see if everyone had returned. Then, Knight Sorrow noticed that Flying Tiger Sage was missing a leg. He searched for Orchid Book Handle, and read the latest chapter. Senior Flying Tiger Sage, you. Knight Sorrow didn't know how to continue. It's nothing. Losing a limb will just consume some energy and time. I'll recover in a dozen years, said Flying Tiger Sage. Then Long Xianxia explained the situation to Knight Sorrow. This time the results were pretty good. They had killed 5 puppet kings and 6 soul king. However, their self-detonation had given 7 fiend king a chance to escape. When 6 soul king self-detonated, Flying Tiger Sage, who was closest to him, had been heavily injured. The results of this battle are very good. Martial Uncle Taishu, give the Flying Tiger Saint some life spirit fluid. Give him whatever resources he needs to recover. Yi Shan instructed Taishu Yen and Lu Qin. Also, we'll have to continue fighting. Everyone please continue to work hard, said Knight Sorrow. How do we fight? Asked Long Xianxia. That 9E Nether King isn't here. What are we waiting for? I'll go gather people. We'll start killing now. Remember to destroy the teleportation formation first. After that, kill as many people as you can. If you're injured or exhausted, enter the teleportation formation, ordered Knight Sorrow. Following Knight Sorrow's orders, Long Xianxia and the others began to move. Knight Sorrow went through the spatial tunnel and arrived at the 1000 derivation killing formation. He opened a hole in the formation and brought the people of the 2 worlds through the spatial tunnel. He was worried about Father Gu and Yin Yanxiao's safety and directly sent them into the space-time pagoda. Then, a formation master led everyone through the Great Cycle formation to attack the Netherworld army. The Netherworld army strength was 2 to 3 times that of the 9 regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm. However, with only high-level saints present, they weren't able to block the attacks of the 2 worlds. Long Xianxia first followed Knight Sorrow's instructions and destroyed the enemy's teleportation formation before starting the battle. Knight Sorrow rushed over and started looking for Jianghu. He wanted to kill Jianghu as soon as possible, but he couldn't find him. That guy isn't here. I've been looking for him with the others, but we haven't found him, Snow Dusk said to Knight Sorrow as she fought. Then let's fight first. Pay attention to my parents' safety. Knight Sorrow instructed Xuexi. Xuexi was now a mid-stage 6-star saint, but her strength was far beyond a 7-star saint. With Knight Sorrow's current combat strength, he could defeat beginner-level saints, but killing them would take time. If he encountered venerables, he could kill them in 2 shots. The other 9 domain worlds and the Profound Mysteries realm were also fighting fiercely. Everyone knew that this was a rare opportunity to draw closer to the 9 domain worlds and the Nether realm. Although the army of the Netherworld realm was being suppressed, they were still fighting ferociously. The Netherworld beasts and the Netherworld race fought to the death without retreating. They had the ferocity to bite their enemies even if they had to die in battle. Fortunately, the elites of the 9 domain worlds and the Profound Mysteries realm were strong. They had 4 peak saints, 3 high-level saints and even more mid-level saints. The 9 domain world side had been fighting conservatively. As long as they were injured or exhausted, they would retreat. At this time, the battle had lasted for 2 hours. The Netherworld realm's army strength had been halved. However, the 9 domain world side only had a few saints and venerables left. Knight Sorrow and the others are here. It's the 3 Netherworld kings, reminded Xuanhuan. Retreat. Right now we're exhausted and our condition isn't good. We can't fight to the death. Retreat immediately. Knight Sorrow gave the order to retreat. This time, the ones who hadn't been held back were all saints and venerables. A clean retreat was still possible. Knight Sorrow and the others retreated into the formation and watched the newcomers. That's not right. That 6-soul king clearly self-detonated. How could he still be alive? Frowned Sky Underworld Sage. A spiritual clone. What he self-detonated might be his spiritual clone. As for why it's so strong, it's hard to say. We don't understand his cultivation technique or talent, said Long Xianxia. Killing the 5 puppet kings is a great victory. Being able to kill 6 soul kings clone is also a good thing, said Knight Sorrow. Not bad. We've gained a lot from this battle. Now we're infinitely closer to the Netherworld realm, said Xialanjun. She was very happy that the 9 domain world side had obtained such a result. It could be said that they were getting closer and closer to victory. The 9 underworld monarch's expression was cold. She hadn't expected the 9 domain world's 2 moves to cause her strategy to fail. Furthermore, they had suffered a huge blow. 9 underworld monarch, what's going on? The Seven Fiends King was puzzled. Their commander's strategy is very good. It should be because after taking down the spatial channel, they set up a transportation formation in our territory. That's why we've been forced into a passive position. 6 Soul, arrange for all the nether beasts to start clearing out from here. The 9 Underworld Monarch thought for a moment and realized what had gone wrong. The 9 Underworld Monarch reorganized her camp. At the same time, she told the other 2 Underworld Monarchs not to leave this region. She couldn't withstand the 9 domain worlds' attacks alone. Night Sorrow brought his people back to the command tent and then asked Taishu Yen about the situation. After Taishu Yen reported, Night Sorrow sighed. They hadn't been able to prevent people from dying in battle. This time there were more than 10 initial venerables who had died. This is already very good. We've lost dozens of times more than the enemy. This is practically impossible in war, said Xianxia. The results are good, but we still have to avoid casualties. Martial Uncle Tai, Martial Uncle Lu, record the names of those who died. Once we return, we have to make proper arrangements for their families. They died in battle for their homeland, so we have to make sure their families have a better life, said Night Sorrow to Taishu Yen and Lu Qin. Taishu Yen and Lu Qin nodded. They knew that this was Night Sorrow's character and way of doing things. He would definitely make the people around him feel at ease. The only regret this time is that we weren't able to get rid of that scourge Jianghu. I don't know where he ran off to, said Night Sorrow, somewhat puzzled. The others shook their heads. They also didn't know the situation. Night Sorrow then arranged for everyone to rest. A high-intensity battle had consumed a great deal of everyone's energy. It had to be known that the Netherrealm's army fought without fear of death. There were even many times when both sides suffered. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been more than 10 deaths in the 9 domain worlds battle. Night Sorrow was practicing in the command tent. He had just entered the Sage Realm. Now he needed to stabilize his cultivation base. There were many areas that he needed to master through a comprehensive study. Night Sorrow was also at ease. He was waiting for the 9 domain worlds troops to recover. Then the battle could start at any time. The Nether Realm had fallen into a passive situation. In fact, Night Sorrow also knew that it wasn't that the 9 Underworld Monarch wasn't good enough. It was that he had taken the initiative and made the other party fall into a passive situation. Otherwise it wouldn't have been so easy to fight. The first free reading of Myriad Dao Becomes a God,